Live tonight from Southern California, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series continues its West Coast swing with a trip to the City of Action tonight for the third race of its 2018 season, and it has been just 2 weeks since we were last in action for the ISM Raceway, where we saw Keegan Leahy become the second race winner in 2 races to open up this 2018 campaign. And as we get set to go 200-mile-an-hour plus racing this evening from the Auto Club Speedway, we catch up with the action from last time out with a look at this week's iRacing race recap. Michael Conti, no hesitation in the American Ethanol green flag, and we are underway from Phoenix for the second race of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series campaign. Challenge for the race lead short-lived. Leahy tucks in line second, and it is a free-for-all. Watch the dogleg for the first time as they spread them wide. The battle for the race lead, all of a sudden Michael Conti has lost that big advantage that he had last time we checked in. It was at 0.8 of a second, but you're looking at a side-by-side fight for the race lead at lap number 13, the 5 car. You can see the desperation way down 20 feet below that yellow line in the center of the dogleg. It's wide open. You can go as long as you want down there, all the way up against the inside wall. But again, you did see that 5 really struggle with the push into the corner. That's the downside, and the 24 Leahy outside, new race leader. At lap number 14, Keegan Leahy goes to the point, and Conti falls back to second. If he can keep that Chevrolet assess in front of the rest of the field, as he takes no hesitation and brings a 3-car length advantage to the green flag.
For the third restart, we see the top 2 get single file. Well, maybe not. Here comes the 15-0 back, taking a peek to the inside, trying to make something happen for position number 2. Alfalo that top side. And first time we've seen Michael Conti all night long in traffic. He sits in 5th.
And it's going to be tight off of pit road, though, and the race to the lawn is not going to be Keegan Leahy. How about Ray Alfalo in the number 2 Ford? Comes down pit road, goes for the 4 tires just like everybody else. To Alfalo now, he's going to come back down.
This is big, so that means that 24 car, he's going to be the lead car. And where is Ray Alfalo going to cycle out? Could they be really, really tight on fuel? I know we were thinking 50, but 41 laps to go.
Keegan Leahy, best car all night inside of row 2 and 3rd. With the 2 fresh tires on the right side only. A lot of beating and banging as Zach Davies does not want to go. And they finally push the front row up to speed as we go back racing with 10 laps to go. Look for the 24 car on the speed, and there he goes, the bump and run. He'll rocket to the race lead, and there they go behind as the O2 Emergeron in front of the field. For Leahy, he's just going to have to be able to make it home at this point. Again, this race is not going to restart.
Here's another one coming up through the ranks of sim racing and iRacing and making a mark, and making a big mark here this evening at ISM Raceway. He'll light it up. First career victory in this series, and by the way he's run, I don't think this is the last time he'll be able to light it up and do these burnouts.
That's his Fidel Racing Team Virtual Racing School Chevrolet, burning it down on the front straightaway. The driver out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, celebrating his first career win. It was all Keegan Leahy.
Oh, that was late.
Hey guys! This week, the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude.
Yeah. The all-new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Visit NASCAR.com/fantasy and build your team today.
road to $10,000 rolls through the Golden State as NPAS stays westward. In the middle of a West Coast swing, where tonight we go sim racing from Fontana at the virtual Auto Club Speedway on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, and it is from high above the Auto Club Speedway in the booth where we say good evening sim racing fans and welcome to tonight's Fontana 125, the third race on this 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Cheneth upstairs with you as always. Our producer downstairs, Hugo Luis, is twisted and tweaking the dials and bringing us to you this evening. And Tim, very different racetrack coming into tonight. We open up the season obviously with a trip to Daytona International Speedway, big fast 2.5 miler. We shortened things up 2 weeks ago from Phoenix, and we'll slide right in the middle here tonight with a 2-mile D-shaped oval in Fontana.
Yeah, you mentioned a completely different racetrack than what we've had the first 2 rounds of this series, and I don't know if we're going to see much different from what we saw 2 weeks ago at Phoenix, because Keegan Leahy fast once again, but these drivers are going to try to make their way a little bit closer to the top of the point standings. Good run here will definitely help that.
Obviously finding the success that he had those 2 weeks ago when he took the car to victory lane. Keegan Leahy comes into tonight, Randy, as your leader in the championship standings. Of course, obviously a long way to go before we start talking about playoff rounds, but Ottinger, Conti, Alfalo, Duval names inside of the top 5. Zelensky, Bussa, Bordeaux, Schoenberg, and Bias, all familiar suspects up there in the top 10 in the championship standings. And Keegan Leahy's had a very good start to the year as well, and hoping to continue that success coming into tonight's race. Fontana, very similar to Michigan International Speedway. We'll see that one a little bit later on this year for round number 8. I'm not sure if it's a little bit too early in the year to really be drawing conclusions back and forth to him, but this is a very fast and wide racetrack. 125 laps on tap for us tonight means we've got 250 miles to sort it out, so just because you're fast in the practice session guarantees you nothing.
That's the big thing. We've seen a couple weeks that cars that start out in front don't always end up finishing there. We saw Michael Conti take the pole last week and kind of struggle once we got into the race conditions. But Keegan Leahy in that 24 already having a 10-point advantage over everyone else in this championship. If he can keep up any of this momentum whatsoever, he's looking to have a potentially dominant year in that 24.
We look at a racetrack as well at Auto Club that appears, Tim, to at least be wide open coming into this one. Hard to pinpoint who's going to be fast other than the drivers who may just be feeling it so far this year. Been to this racetrack 4 other times every year since 2014. Nick Ottinger was the first driver to win at this racetrack back at its first time at a calendar. Kenny Humpy in 15, Ray Alfalo 2016, and most recently Ryan Luza on his run last season with a trip here to victory lane just 1 year ago. So another racetrack with no repeat winners, and I think if we continue to kind of follow that stat over the course of the year, we'll start to realize that most of the racetracks we see on this calendar don't have a majority of repeat winners. That's how often that we see the, I guess, the change of pace and the seniority in this series cycle through, is really anybody has a shot on any given week. And now that we're in the 3rd week, though, of this season, I think we're starting to figure out who's got what, who has to improve on things, and that'll continue for at least a few more races.
Keep in mind, competition really stiff in this series, Evan. Those 4 winners that you mentioned are in this race tonight, but it's going to be hard to defend and get back to victory lane here at Auto Club as we get ready to go racing here for 125 laps.
It never hurts that a lot of those names as well, past series champions in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. It's going to be a long, fast one tonight. We're happy that you're with us, as always, on a Tuesday evening as we go trackside and take a look at tonight's RaceSpot TV starting grid. Speaking of speed, the 2-4, Keegan Leahy up front. He will qualify on pole for tonight's Fontana 125, and he will bring us to the green flag alongside a previous winner here in Fontana. That'll be Ryan Michael Luzes starting in 2nd. Brad Davies, Cody Bias going to make up row 2. They start 3rd and 4th respectively. Zach Novak rounds out your top 5.
Dylan Duval comes off atop.
16th place, we're going to have Colton Davis with Jimmy Mullis in 17th, Ray Alfalo 18th, Matt Booth in 19th, and Christian Challoner rounding out the top 20.
Marcus Richardson's going to find himself in 21st. Nick Ottinger with him on row 11. They'll start in 22nd spot. Nolan Scott 23rd. Casey Tucker 24th. And Andrew Fayash the 3rd in 25th.
Guys that need to work, Alex Berger on 26, Michael Guest 27, Timmy Hill in 28th, Bobby Zielinski deep in the field in 29th, and Brandon Pipgras in 30th.
31st going to be Nicholas Shelton. 32nd for Casey Kerwin. His cars roll off for the pit lane. Chris Shearburn 33rd. Philip Diaz 34th. And Chris Overland in 35th.
36th, Joe Letterella with Kenny Humpy, Adam Gilliland, Ryan Lowe, and Jake Sturgios rounding out the field.
On top to bottom and how they will roll off with a look at a RaceSpot TV starting grid. Already talked a little bit about what we are to expect to see here tonight. The Auto Club Speedway 2-mile D-shaped oval, 125 laps. We will go 250 miles start to finish in this one. Draft's going to be a very big factor, and again could serve as a little bit of a preview for the midway point in the regular season in a couple of weeks' time when we head to the Michigan International Speedway. But as always, we're happy that you're spending a Tuesday evening with us on RaceSpot TV at iRacing.com/live. The pace car going to head down to the safety of the pit lane this time, and the field is going to be in the hands of Keegan Leahy. This group has gotten a lot of good looks at the back bumper of the 24 Chevrolet. We'll see if Leahy can go back-to-back and continue that momentum right here, right now with the American Ethanol green flag flies, and we are NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series racing in Fontana. Third race of 2018 up to speed.
And top two quickly get single file. It's the 21 of bias on the outside. And there's Brad Davies on the inside. Remember back to ISM Raceway, he played that pit strategy at the end of the race. Got himself a little bit of a better finish. Right now up in third. No pit strategy required to get that starting position.
Always makes your life a little bit easier, but you can start out in a better spot. You see that first battle is for fourth as the top three cars are single file off into the corner. It's now going to return into a battle for fifth position as Zach Novak has cleared that 5 on the inside of Michael Conti, who's trying to make something work. He will also be cleared by Cody Bias. So Conti looked to the inside, wasn't able to really get anything cooking on that one. The top three all remained exactly where they started. Novak does go +1 on a Bias, and Conti ends up going +1 position on the inside of the racetrack. These drivers are going to look to, as best as they can, try to single file out and get some spacing, but those high speeds in that draft is going to make it very difficult to get away from everybody else.
So we're going to have to watch see the 74 of Taylor Hurst fight side by side with the 42 of Dylan Duvall through corners number 3 and 4. And up and off that corner, they are going to come, and I think that 74 machine going to have a good advantage, but no, the 42 car, much like in real life, looking good up on that top side.
Finds himself a spot in line. That's the red number 42 machine. You saw dart to the inside. Dylan Duvall trying to make something work early as he lost 2 spots off at the start of this race. He's got that 04 and Eric Bordeaux up on his outside, and he will clear Bordeaux. And then in turn number 2, the 10 car of Corey Vincent wants to get in on the action. He's on the left-hand side as you run on board with Bordeaux down the back straightaway. He'll have to take the higher line down at this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4. You'll start to see that blue number 10 Peak Chevy of Vincent creep forward on the inside. In fact, we're 2 wide, 2 rows deep coming out of turn 4.
And he's bringing a friend along with him. There's Brian Schoenberg. There's a home track native from California looking to pick up at least a top 10 finish here at this Auto Club Speedway to the inside of Vincent. And then you have that Bordeaux machine on the outside as well, trying to work his way a little bit closer towards the front of the field. And Jarl Tien also a part of this battle as they come up at corner number 2 and race down the back straightaway. Battles all over this racetrack. Even Conti taking a look to the inside of Davies by the looks of it.
He wants to make it 3 wide for third. The top 2 try to pull away, but that's the fight on track right now. But it's Conti on the inside. He used that lower line right off for the green flag to get a couple of spots, and he will get 2 with 1 swing of the bat there. Michael Conti going to go 5th to 3rd as he passes both Zach Novak and Brad Davies. Davies is going to end up in the same spot through all of that. Gets really Novak, who falls 3rd to 5th. Conti jumps 5th to 3rd in that exchange.
That number 5 machine has had a good couple weeks. The 42 of Dylan Duvall is all sorts of loose on the entry into 1. Manages to get it woed up and saved, but the 55 of Brian Schoenberg had to get way out of it. They're going to fan out nearly 3 wide down this long back straightaway here at Fontana. The 42 is going to defend down low, while the 74 of Taylor Hurst is going to take a look up top.
The 42 machine did a good job of hanging on. It was Schoenberg who got into his back end, and we're going to go 3 wide again. The 42 struggling coming up off of the quarter, and it is a 3 wide run down the front stretch here. This battle right now going on for the 6th or 7th and 8th position as well. That 3 car, Jarl Tien, thought about making it 4 wide, thinks better of it. It'll now be just Schoenberg and the 42 of Duvall, mono into the quarter. And once again, the inside line, the place to be. Schoenberg wins out in all of that.
And some of these guys in this battle racing like there's 6 laps to go, not 6 laps into the race. Schoenberg picks up that spot. and look who's creeping into the picture. There's Logan Clampett in the 46 car. He's our spotlight driver here this evening, driving for Richmond Raceway and the Chaos crew, and so far so good, working his way up closer towards the front of the field. Started in position number 13, trying to crack that top 10 as he runs down the front straightaway, and you can see what he's seeing down into corner number 1.
And Logan Clampett going to be our featured driver for tonight's race. All year we'll have an opportunity to take a look in with some of the competitors, and Logan Clampett is going to be the headlight of our spotlight tonight, if you will. The driver out of Mesa, Arizona, running with the number 46 on the side of his Toyota Camry. Runner-up from the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. The driver who has tested a dirt-focused midget at Ventura Raceway on the rear-wheel side of things. High school senior, one of the drivers competing in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. Is up a couple of spots and into the top 10, and that tells me everybody's going to enjoy riding along with Logan a couple of times tonight. One of the fan favorites as well. He's had a pretty good start to his 2018 campaign.
Really is. He's made a lot of fans the last couple of years. Picked up that first win of his NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series iRacing Championship career at New Hampshire, and ever since he sort of carried that momentum through, finished top 4 in the championship last season, and he's got a nice running spot for where he is right now, up in the top 9. I think he's going to be pretty happy that these guys out in front of him have calmed things down and stopped getting their way 3 wide. 250-mile race, and everyone is starting to get themselves single-filed out.
I mentioned that the draft is going to make it a little bit difficult for drivers to get a lot of gaps out of one another. You're not going to not see this single file. You're going to definitely have that, but there will be groups of cars. You're going to constantly find yourself around somebody at all times. It is going to mean that anytime you make a mistake, you can guarantee somebody's going to be there to jump on you. You see the 04 car on the inside, not a lot of room there. It looked like Derek Bordeaux was trying to get back to the gas, and the 3 Jarl-T had no intentions of giving him any space. Now Rattler thinking about crossing him over in the 09 car. He will go to the inside, and this will be a fight for 12th and 13th position on the racetrack. Single file in front of these guys.
And Jimmy Mullis a part of that battle as well. It came off a second-place finish at ISM Raceway, trying to make his way closer towards the front of the field. Great run early by Rattler as well on the inside, trying to pick up that spot on Bordeaux. But you mentioned it, you see these packs of racing. It's hard to get away from somebody, except maybe Michael Conti. He's running in third all by himself right now. But even the battle for the lead starting to heat up a little bit. Ryan Luza recovering from the collarbone, the shoulder injury that he had a couple weeks ago. He's all over the back bumper of Keegan Leahy, pressuring that number 24 as they go into corner number 3.
We mentioned it was impressive how well Luza was able to do even with that hindering him, and obviously try to move forward from that with a long way to go in 2018. You look out the back of your race leader, Keegan Leahy, and he is getting absolutely traced to high to low by Ryan Luza, tucked into the number 2 position, and that's why Michael Conti is kind of in no man's land back there. You see him in 3rd, then 4th spot Zach Novak, and then Cody Bias is where things start to group back up. But the top 2 definitely showing they are the fastest on track at the moment, and Luza wants to make this one a fight. Lap number 11 to the inside, and we're going to go side by side for the race lead from Fontana. Leahy very wide into the corner, and easy does it for Ryan Luza, who takes over the race lead for the first time tonight.
Nice, easy pass from Ryan, who's likely still driving with that injured collarbone. As Evan just said, he's driving with one hand out at Phoenix. Now that number 24 car, who's had such a good start to the season, I think he's likely just going to calm himself down and chill in behind Ryan. No point in getting over aggressive right here, right now. Got the driver that won the championship last season out in front of your windshield. You are definitely also the second best car on the track right now. Going to come down, have a chance to come down pit road several times today, potentially get yourself quicker. I think we might see Ryan potentially check out a little bit right here, though.
We always wonder in long races like this, especially at a racetrack like this, I would think more so than a place like ISM Speedway, a smaller racetrack where you expect things to be a bit more rough and tough, if you will, that we're going to have green flag runs in this kind of a race, and expecting drivers to try to pace themselves, be able to work on what they're going to do over the course of the long run, and obviously try to remain as, not lenient, but just take things easy. Don't burn up the race car, don't burn up the tires and the equipment early in a run, and I think when you have 2 drivers like Luza and Leahy who continue to pressure each other, Luza made the pass relatively easily. I don't think Leahy put up much of a fight. You see him, that number 24 is not letting Ryan Luza get away by any means, so you have to wonder if they're pushing each other maybe a little bit more than they would be if that other driver wasn't there. If I'm Ryan Luza and there is no Keegan Leahy, you're talking about a 2-second advantage right there just coming out of the side of the screen. That's Michael Conti in 3rd. It would be a completely different story if that other car wasn't there. So let's see how these 2 continue to push each other
other because those lap times aren't really dropping anywhere. They've now gone to 2.2 seconds ahead of the next closest car.
And that next closest car is Zach Novak. Novak made that move on Michael Conti for position number 3, and we saw that on ISM Raceway as well with Michael Conti. Very strong early in the run, very strong late in the run, but they struggled to find that mid-run speed. And right now, 14 laps into this race, falling back a little bit. Zach Novak has been strong. Talked to a couple of drivers in the field saying, who might be a driver to contend for this one? It might be Zach Novak. Obviously, Keegan Leahy is strong, and we see Ryan Luza up in front. But I think Zach Novak's going to have something for these guys before the end of this race.
Where the end of this race is coming closer lap by lap so far uncontested, and green flag racing through the opening 15 laps of 125. Obviously, it is not a make-or-break run early in this race. Plenty of green flag pit stops may lie in the horizon. You do see those groups of cars, still a couple of them 3 and 4 groups fighting on the racetrack. Closest battle towards the front right now with Brad Davies and Cody Bias is for 5th position, and Bias in that number 13 machine on the inside had him cleared but wasn't able to get back to the gas quite like he wanted to, and Bias doing something a lot of guys haven't been able to tonight, and that is fight back up on the outside of the racetrack. The car you're on board with now, Bias, now clearing the 13 of Davies after having almost lost that spot at the other end of the racetrack. We'll go at it again for round 2. Davies to the bottom once more.
Racetrack looking really racy right now as they remain side by side through the center of the corner. A little bit of scrape of the wall, I think, up top by Cody Bias, but nothing too bad, and I think it's going to allow him to continue this fight as they head in toward 3 and 4. Brad Davies is going to get clear for a moment. I think Bias might just going to give it up and get himself back down in line after that scrape with the wall. Going to try to work the cut under. In fact, the 13 pushes a little bit through the center of the corner, but Bias nowhere near close enough to make something happen. They're now side by side, a couple of car lengths behind them. I believe for the 10th spot, I believe that's Bordeaux and Taylor Hurd.
You see as they continue to fight just on the tail end of the top 10. As everybody tries to obviously find the strategy that works for them. It's by Mullis in the 27 down on the inside of the racetrack. You see Rattler just sticking right on that bumper, and it's Schoenberg who goes the wrong direction up top. He'll probably fall back to 14th position. It's exactly where he started, so inside again continuing to prove to be the place to be. But good news, 40 drivers took the green flag in this race.
So some drivers with maybe some subpar qualifying runs didn't really hit their marks. They're starting to come towards the field, but Evan, not maybe as quickly as some of us would have thought, as Ray Alfala and Brian Schoenberg go side by side down to the 3.
Watch that fight as they duke it out for 16th and 17th position. Alfala up on the outside. He gets a good run off, so turning action. I think that a big part of it is having enough green flag laps to be able to gain positions, make passes, and use that speed, specifically long run speed, in which you might find yourself at having an advantage over some other drivers. But then if you don't have any other yellows or any other opportunities to group back up, then you're not going to be able to obviously take advantage of the speed. You'll get 5, 6, 7 spots, maybe if you're lucky, if you're really fast. Somebody like a Logan Clampett, who's gone 13th to 5th. The problem is, once you've picked up all those positions, now you're 5 seconds off of the race lead, and that's where some yellows wouldn't hurt these drivers over the course of the run, although we got plenty of time to talk about that, with only 20 laps going to be complete this time of 125.
Definitely not panic mode just yet for any of these guys that maybe didn't qualify well but have really, really good race pace like the likes of Logan Clampett. Yeah, you see that 5-second deficit from yourself to the likes of Ryan Michael Luza, but the fact that you're able to keep that gap that small and yet still run your way through the field the way Logan has is actually quite extraordinary. And as he said, Evan, still a lot of racing left in this race, still over 100 laps remaining. So if you're someone who's like Logan working your way through the field, Derek Bordeaux doing something similar, Jimmy Mullis, who's up +5 as well, no point getting over aggressive or over antsy just yet, as Brad Davies, I think, takes that outside wall off of 2 and goes way down to the inside on the backstretch.
He was way down below that yellow line, got a little bit sideways and caught the fence. He did a good job of hanging on to it, but he had to lose a lot of racetrack to do so. And impressively enough, I don't think he loses any position. Still behind Novak and still in front of Logan Clampett. He didn't smack the wall coming off of the corner. The car got a little bit loose and he tiptoed it up the hill just a little bit to hang on to it. That's when he got into that wall. Luckily for him, it was just after where that safer barrier falls away, so he got himself an extra maybe 2 feet to work with. You can see the next time into the corner, not shying away from things at all. These drivers very tight on exit early, and they will be all night long.
Another pack there battling for position. Jimmy Mullis, Taylor Hurst coming through the field as well. Great to see the 74 car up in the top 10 early in this one. But one driver that I saw falling back through the field through that exchange, yes, we saw Brad Davies fall back, but Michael Conti has fallen off the pace. The 5 car outside the top 10 right now, and I believe back to about 16th or 17th place as he tries to track down Colton Davis. Ray Alfala made the move on him a couple laps ago, and something amiss with that number 5. We talked about mid-run speed a little bit earlier on. This is definitely the mid-run, and they're searching for speed.
Closing in on what's going to be 100 laps to go, long way from home, and you continue to see battles on track, although I do think we've finally reached the point where a majority of these cars are spread out single file. You can really get a good look at them when they head down that back straightaway. The 27 Mullis continues to want to push buttons. He is one of our biggest movers. I mentioned Logan Clampett up 8 spots to 5th. Mullis a little bit tight that time off of the corner, but he is also with a pretty good gain up 7 spots and fighting to break into the top 10. Trying to get around the 21 of Cody Bias and is fighting for 9th spot.
That 27 car, you're going to take a look on that 21 of Mullis down low as they roll through 1 and 2. Also the 2 of Ray Alfala looking up top, not quite close enough to make it 3 wide, but he's definitely trying to make himself something to think about for these 2 guys. They continue to fight off down towards this back straightaway, and they remain side by side. Ray's going to duck down to the inside and actually is going to make it 3 abreast, and the 21 decides to hit the eject button. Now it's going to be the 27 of Jimmy Mullis who has to deal with 3 times.
And that 21 machine is putting the pressure on Alfala as well, but it's definitely the 27 Mullis on the top, Alfala on the inside, and Tobias has got a front row seat of this entire battle as the outside stronger that time off of the corner, but Alfala, somebody else who's been working his way through the field, started in 18th position. He took over 10th spot as of that last time around, and so this is a battle between Mullis and Alfala that they started next to each other. They run next to each other right now. Have been following each other through the field, both into the top 10.
And there's a driver with a little mid-run speed right now. That 2 of Alfala really pushing in this middle run, about 20 laps in now, 25 laps into this run, and he really is coming to life up off corner number 4. Almost a little contact there with he and Mullis as they will drag race down the front. Ray Alfala coming to life. Dylan Duval in front of him, trying to make a move on Bordeaux, and as Alfala gets that launch down into corner number 1, takes a little look over that Simcraft number 42, as that would be the next victim for the VRS Ford if he can get up to Dylan Duval.
Duval's somebody who has gone the wrong direction early in this race, and listen, there's a lot worse things you could be doing 26 laps into a run than be running inside of the top 10, but Duval did lose a couple of spots early, hasn't been able to get back up to Bordeaux. Bordeaux leapfrogged him a couple of laps ago, about halfway through the run to this point, and just hasn't been able to get back on his bumper, although Bordeaux made a mistake there, so this could have become a 4-way battle pretty soon. You look out the front of Duval's entry, he's going to catch Bordeaux just as Alfala and Mullis are catching him. Should be interesting in a 4-way fight for 7th through 10th.
2 machine of Alfala is going to look to the top side of Dylan Duval. Is he going to be able to make something happen here as they come off corner number 2 and head down this long back straightaway? Going to actually work the cutback here and get a little bit of that slipstream off the 04 Derek Bordeaux. That's going to be enough to suck him up the inside of that 42 of Dylan Duval. And he's nearly clear as they get to the center of the corner, but the 42 machine of Duval very good on the entry, but look at the drive off the corner that VRS Slip Angle Motorsports machine can get. He picks up a spot on that 42 of Dylan Duval, and he likely smells blood in the water. But he's going to start hunting it down, that 04 of Derek Bordeaux, very quickly. I think he'll be around him here within the next couple laps.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Alfala just continues to keep the pedal to the metal, but a little bit of a higher entry that time into the corner. You saw Duval kind of close in on the left or quarter panel. Nothing's going to come from that, and Alfala goes back on the offensive. It's really the only last big group left inside of the top 10. It's his 4-car group we've been following. He decides, though, to not go to the inside into the corner. Probably could have forced the issue and gone down low. Instead, Alfala keep it about a lane up off of the bottom of the racetrack. You could already see the rubber getting put down on this surface as you rode on board with the 2 through the corner there. Now he'll make that move to the inside. The 04 is going to place his bets on the outside as Bordeaux tries to defend, but it seems like it is a lost cause, and Ray Alfala continues the impressive start, now 11 spots into the positive.
Continues to pick up speed as this run goes on, but you rode on board with Ray Alfala and you saw those cars in front of him. There's 3 cars that are almost directly in front of him, and Hurst, Clampett, and Davies, and then it's about 2 seconds up to Zach Novak, and then another second or so, or 2 seconds up to Keegan Leahy, and then another 3/4 of a second to your leader. So Ray Alfala making these passes, and making them look fairly easy as the run goes on, but he's got a little ways to run now to catch up to Taylor Hurst, Logan Clampett, and Brad Davies. Everybody up near the front of the field within the top 5 really has found themselves a place to race and really has a little bit of separation in between them. The first real battle on the racetrack besides Alfala and Bordeaux saw Rattler getting racy back there with Dylan Duval in that 42, and there's one on your screen as well. A couple of side-by-side battles throughout this racetrack.
You're definitely always going to have a couple of them here or there, and you see the 09 tucked in behind the 42. That's Duval and Rattler 10th and 11th on track at the moment, but we are definitely seeing significant separation from what we saw earlier. In fact, Lusa has stretched to 7/10 in front of Keegan Leahy in the battle for first and second. Still relatively close in the grand scheme of things, but we are seeing that separation as we get to what is soon going to be, Randy, the closing bits of this run. 30 laps in, pit stop's not all that far away.
That's the main thing these guys are going to be thinking about, isn't it? And I have to think that we're starting to come close to the point where we might get some early birds coming down pit road, trying to work that little bit of the undercut. Your race leaders work down this back straightaway in toward 3 and 4. Keegan Lee in that 24 was a little bit quicker than Ryan Michael Luza that last time through, and I'm curious if that's going to carry over as they head down towards this long curved front straightaway at Auto Club Speedway. Might be a situation where that 24 car of Keegan Lee has fantastic late run pace. The number 6 machine of Luza goes to a 41.194. It's a 40.949 for Keegan Lee. He has found speed late in the run, Evan.
Yeah, Leahy is wanting to put the pressure back on him. I was just watching Alfala's times as well, because we've been talking about him coming through the field. He put down a 48.66 the last time by, which would be best enough for the fastest lap last time. Logan Clampett, another driver with pretty good lap times in 5th position. He might be able to get to Brad Davies in front of him before this run is done. That is if the charge of Taylor Hurst and Ray Alfala don't get to him before that. Alfala has not slowed down. He's finally been able to get away from Mullis after they tag team the entire field. Alfala continues to close in. He could easily be 4th before we hit pit road. There's 3 drivers within a second of him.
But he's going to get past those drivers first. Taylor Hurst in the 74 has shown some speed here so far this evening, and the 2 of Ray Alfala trying to find a way around, and in turn the 74 trying to get up to Logan Clampett. Great run for the 2 that time at a corner number 2. You see him go to the inside of the RTR website's number 74 of Taylor Hurst, and they'll dance down the back straightaway. But Alfala, great run out of the corner to set up that pass. Beautiful pass to move in to position number 6.
74 machine Hurst wants to fight back. In fact, he will get a nose to the inside, but a very short-lived counteraction, and I think the smarter move, and we've seen a lot of drivers, Randy, when somebody gets up to him. In fact, we even saw it for the race lead when Luza caught up to Leahy. Don't fight back. Don't really worry about ruining your equipment to get those extra bonus points. Just hang back there in P2. I mean, Leahy's still in a fantastic spot. Don't force the issue. You can see, though, on board with Logan Clampett, here comes Ray Alfala to the inside of the racetrack, and side by side we go for 5th. They're both red and black cars, but Alfala is on the inside. It's the 46 of Clampett up top, and there's another one in the back pocket. Ray Alfala knocking him off now into the top 5.
He's just making it look easy, isn't it? It feels like every time we look at this number 2 machine, every lap or 2, he's passed the car or so, and he's in the process of passing another one. Next driver he'll be targeting will be the 13 of Brad Davies, who is, well, just a couple of tenths of a second out in front of him, and Ray is circulating on the racetrack about 3/10 of a second quicker per lap as he works through corner number 2 here at Fontana. Down the back straightaway, and look at the drive off that number 2 Ford Fusion has down this long back straightaway. Goes that VRS machine, and Brad Davies likely looking in that rearview mirror and really just trying to figure out how to let that 2 machine by without getting into the grits of the 46 of Logan Clampett and the 74 Taylor Hurst.
Sitting about 7 laps away this time by with 35 laps down. 7 laps away from getting to the 1/3 marker in this race. Obviously, if you can get to that on fuel, you can make it to the end of this race on a 2-stop strategy. It would be at about lap 45 or so, and then closer to the end of this race at about lap number 90. That would be able to get you through to 125. Obviously, you could fluctuate a little bit, but you're going to need a little bit more than 40 laps of fuel out of every single run. And so far, no indication for the drivers up front that they are going to jump down onto the pit lane quite yet. Typically, though, you might see a couple of drivers towards the back drop off. The only driver we've seen lose lead lap status is Kenny Humpy. That was not for scheduled service. He is 4 laps down in 40th position. But once somebody top 5, maybe even top 10 makes that call, you're going to see a big influx of drivers headed down. This is nowhere near like what we saw at the beginning of the year at Daytona when drivers were coordinating pit stops. You can expect the radio to be very quiet until it all kicks off.
And a couple.
Ray Alfala is not. I said there were 3 cars in front of him that he could pass. He did pass all of them, and he did get up the P4. I do think that Novak a little bit too far out right now at 2 seconds away, but it looks like a lot of these drivers, again, not really wanting to go for the crossovers and force the 2 and 3 wide. They know that their tires have really fallen off. Even if you look at somebody like a Ryan Michael Lusa, who is leading this race, the best lap he put down was on fresh tires. It was a 38.5. He's down last time with a 41.1, so there is substantial fall off close to 3 seconds to this point.
Yeah, it's pretty big right now. We had our first taker hit towards pit road, the 05 machine of Nick Ottinger, so have to keep an eye on his lap times and where he cycles through, but still keep an eye on this 2 machine of Ray Alfala. Whether or not he'll have time to make a move here on Zach Novak, I think it's still up in the air. He's circulating about 0.4 of a second per lap quicker than that number 15 machine. Question's going to be is when does Zach Novak opt to come down towards pit road, because he should see that. Realize discretion is the better part of valor as they work themselves across the time lane once again. Don't think any of your race leaders are thinking about pit road just yet. The 21 of Cody Biases, though. Who's that? I see a Ford Fusion off towards the lane as well.
As Derek Bordeaux in the Fusion came in from 9th position to get pitted right now at lap 40, would get you to about lap 80, which would get you to 120, just shy. If you can squeeze 1 or 2 more laps out of this thing, then you should be good to go in the 2-stop strategy, though a lot of the time, when you come down and you instantly get those fresh tires, you're talking about 2 to 3 seconds difference per lap. If you stay out 2 more laps, you're going to be losing 5 seconds of time. So often, you don't get to dictate what your strategy is. You can try to keep it within your ballpark, but oftentimes you have to react to what the drivers around you are doing. Nobody top 5 has decided that we're at that point yet, and we're going to be shortly in a caution flag is out at lap 41.
Yeah, the yellow flag flies for the first time, and there is the 3 of Jarl Tien at the entrance of pit road. We'll see if what happened, and possibly it might have been him trying to come to pit road with a pack of drivers racing around him, racing with Chris Overland, Chris Shearburn, Michael Conti on the outside. He's coming through the pack, and Chris Overland and he have a little bit of contact, little slide down there in corner number 4, but not able to save it and back up into the fence.
Is very fortunate that that was not a 4 to 5 car accident. Tien had already pitted, had fresh tires. Look how much faster he is for the onboard shot, and just push it up was Overland. Tried to save it, That car spun around, and about 4 drivers came within maybe 5 feet of that 3 as it was slotted across the racetrack. That could have easily been ugly. You go on board with Overland now, you can see him going up. That's just the old tires. Can't hold her down, and somehow he avoids getting collected in that one, and we end up with just a single car accident to bring out the first yellow at lap number 41. And now for the drivers who pitted and lost their lead lap status in return, Bias, Ottinger, Tien, you're going to be stuck a lap down, and the correct decision was to stay out because we'll have a cycle of yellow flag pit stops right at 1/3 distance.
Well, that 3 Tien has bigger issues just being down a lap right now, but everyone's definitely going to be coming down, except those drivers are going to be taking the wave around with 100% certainty. But I'm still shocked the fact that that was only a single car incident, just where Jarl spun and the way cars were sort of spread out around them. He just sort of found the one little gap that wouldn't result in a lot of people getting involved in an incident. We got really, really lucky that that 3 machine is the only car we see get involved with major damage here today, as here comes the entire field down towards pit road for scheduled service.
Obviously, the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel. We've seen it many times, though, this year. Phoenix, just 2 weeks ago, very good examples of drivers losing or retaining the lead on the pit lane. Everybody wants the same thing. I don't expect anything too outrageous, Tim, but you got to execute as Luz is the first one in.
Absolutely. You got to make sure that you hit your marks, get 4 tires. Luza has to back up from his box, so there's not hitting your marks, and he might lose a little bit of track position here as Leahy looks perfect so far in the 24, but we'll see if anybody gambles and comes out of pit road first as they drop the jack on the 24, and waiting, he is down and away, and I believe Zach Novak may have got him at the line.
It was a drag race off of pit lane, but it was definitely not first in and out for Luza, as he had those difficulties getting into the box to begin with. Keegan Leahy, on the other hand, your pole sitter, all the way down to the #1 pit stall. He'll end up, I believe, second through all of this. It was Zach Novak who really pulled it out of the hat with a fantastic stop in the 15 machine with the 4 tires. It was by far the fastest. That should put him to the #1 spot.
I think you're right. In that 15 machine driven by Zach Novak, Lockdown Racing, going to be very, very happy with that. They can come out in clean air here, and a great pit stop as well from that 2 machine of Ray Alfala. Got bad luck out at Phoenix. Mistake there on pit road cost him potential chance for a win. He's not making the same mistake again as he comes off, I believe, second off the pit road. He's going to be a very happy camper for where he's going to be starting.
And as we cross 1/3 distance and move into what's going to be another good run here from the Auto Club Speedway, this portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant. At Peak, we're not afraid to mix it up with the big boys. This is why we've been actively involved in motorsports for over 30 years. We identify with the straight shooters like John Force and Clint Boyer, just 2 of the truly great racers we've been a part of the Peak family throughout the years. Today, Peak still aims to shock the motorsports establishment, partly as a way to showcase the excellence and competitive quality of our family of brands, but mostly because it's so much fun. You can look for our drivers and teams that challenge the heavy hitters in NASCAR, NHRA, and dirt late model racing. You can also find more information out at peakauto.com today, proud title sponsor of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. So we will shuffle things up a little bit. Drivers looking for wave buys, basically all those who came down and pitted. Tien, Bias, and Duval looking to get waved by the pace car. So will Kenny Humpy, so he'll neglect to come down pit road this time. He'll go from 4 laps down to 3 as he tries to overcome that incident from earlier in this race that forced him down pit road for a bit.
Yeah, he's going to need a couple of quick cautions to try to get back up there and get back on the lead lap, but Kenny Humpy, former winner here, former champion in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series, so if anybody can rebound, got to be that guy in the 58 car. So we'll see how this all plays out. The good thing for him is he still has some laps. We're working lap number 44 of 125, so still a little ways to go. But the one thing that I'm interested in seeing, we saw Ray Alfala carve his way through traffic. He's going to sit in position number 3 when we go green. But how about Ryan Luza? Luza back there now in position number 10. Unlike the initial start of the race where he started on the outside of the front row, he's now going to start in position number 10, so he's got a little ways to go to get back up towards the front of the field.
That's what I talk about when we were discussing executed on pit lane. You would think, just in conventional wisdom, Randy, that green flag pit stops are the more so do or die ones. If you make a mistake, obviously I think there's more opportunities to. Bad entrance in, bad exit off. Of course, you could speed it. There's a couple of things as well. I think if you made a 3-second mistake that with a green flag pit stop, you might have lost a spot or 2 just based on how spread out we were. But a 3-second mistake on yellow flag pit stops costs Ryan Luza about 8 positions and kicks him back to 9th as our scoring cycles through it updates once more. So he's going to have quite the charge back through the field. We'll have to watch that 6 machine and see how he's able to do on that. We'll also keep an eye in front of him a little bit to see just how our featured driver of this race does and what Logan Clampett can do on the restart as well. He also is going to have his work cut out for him. And it is going to be Zach Novak, first time tonight for the number 15 machine in control of the field. And every time we have a restart, the control car is in a much better position. Obviously has the opportunity to restart this race from when the pace car heads down pit road at the time the green flag actually comes out on the exit of the restart box. So watch Novak and Leahy on the front row. Alfala's going to be fun to watch on the inside of row 2. And Luza having to recover from a mistake. Logan Clampett as well back in 33rd. A couple of storylines as we head into the second run of this race. Pace car headed down, only 1 yellow so far tonight from Fontana. And Zach Novak is antsy to get going. Green flag is back in the air.
Oh, and there's some games happening in the mid-pack. See, that's a 55 of Schoenberg way up to the top of the racetrack. I think we had some people trying to jump in and cause a bit of an accordion effect. Let's see if we're going to have any problems through 1 and 2 here for the first time back to green flag racing. And everything's tight up and down the field as you might expect. New tires. People are confident with the grip. Going to have to watch that 5 car of Michael Connie. You see Brad Davies, he's already fighting with the 74 of Taylor Hurst down this back straightaway. Keegan Lee involved in that fight as well.
Davies doored the 24 machine. Leahy coming out of the corner. Another slide. It's Leahy up top. What a save on the outside of 3 and 4. He's got no speed off of the quarter. You can see him sinking to the back on the top of the screen there with those yellow 24 numbers on the roof. He's way up top. He will go from top 5 to maybe top 20 if he is lucky, all the way back as he finally stops the bleeding at about 16th position. But that car probably should have been wrecked, and we'll take a second look at a RaceSpot TV replay as he dropped all those spots on the front straightaway.
Yeah, he's all the way back there where Shearburn, Conti, and Fayash are battling. Looks like he's found his footing, as you mentioned, but now he's going to pass Nolan Scott and a bunch of these other cars. And oh, by the way, this is pretty much where the Hornet's Nest begins. A lot of these drivers fighting to get back into the top 10, pick up some positions on this restart. So he's definitely got some work to do. Up in front, Novak has gapped this battle for second by about 7/10 of a second. Taylor Hurst on the back bumper, the 2 of Alfala. And Brad Davies, there's another car that should have been wrecked off turn 2. He had that thing pointed towards the infield. Great save by Davies a couple laps ago. But now he's battling up here in the top 5. And where did Blake Reynolds come from?
Blake Reynolds, somebody else who has made a big splash in this race, up 10 spots and has worked his way into the top 5 with the absence of a couple of drivers who have made mistakes in the last 10 laps around. He's side by side right now with Davies. I think the 13 might have a little bit of an upper hand in this battle. It's a side-by-side fight for 5th and 4th, and also Alfala and Hurst battling, but the number 2 of Alfala will get it. Into the runner-up spot for the first time tonight. The 74 doesn't want to roll over, though. We are seeing that little bit of tenacity, Randy, that was lacking towards the end of the first run. Somebody passes you, you were a little bit neglected to try to go right back at them. Just take the spot and tuck in line. Taylor Hurst will finally do that, but he really gave Ray Alfala a run for his money. And by the time the 2 finally gets on through, Zach Novak has 9/10 in front of him.
I don't think it's that anyone wasn't fighting with that 2 machine of Alfala. It's just that their best wasn't good enough, just with as quick as he was towards the end of that run. This time, everyone on it, nice, good, clean tires. Because of that, they're going to be pushing it through here. That's still a big Hornet's Nest in the mid-pack, starting to settle itself out, as you would expect with the 74. Still fighting with that 2 machine of Alfala, but Ray has felt really comfortable up in that second groove. He made up a lot of his positions up there, and he seems confident out there on the new tires as well.
The white and yellow number 6 Alous on the inside. He is doing his best to make up for the mistake on a pit road as he came in under caution flying conditions, overshot the box, had to back it up. It didn't cost him that much time on the stopwatch, but it cost him 8 spots on track. He is now back into P5 after leading down to the pit lane when all of this started, and he wants another one to the inside of Davies.
He's going to go to the inside of the 13 and try to pick up that position, but now he's got Taylor Hurst side by side with Ray Alfala in front of him. Alfala on that second group looks like he's going to take that position off the corner. Hurst trying to find a way around and poking his nose out of line just behind that battle. Brian Schoenberg battling with Blake Reynolds.
In time, that one was a close call, and now leaning on each other off. It's back into 4th, but this is far from over. Second position right now through 9th, all separated by only 8/10 of a second. It's a big single file train at the moment at a turn 2.
The train's roaring its way down this back straightaway. Luza taking a little bit of a peek on the inside of Ray Alfala, but not going to be able to make anything of it just yet. Through corners number 3 and 4. The 74 Taylor Hurst, he still wants to make something happen. He's running the bottom where everyone else has sort of moved up about half a lane, but instead it's going to be the 6 machine of Luza who gets a good run off towards this front straightaway. Going to pull alongside with Ray Alfala. No one's been able to really make the inside move work on Ray just yet. Maybe the defending series champion can make it work through 1 and 2, and he is indeed going to get clear of Ray Alfala as they come off corner number 2.
Maybe that mistake sparked a little bit of something inside of Ryan Luza. He was still fast towards the end of that first run, but Alfala was the fastest of all the cars, and now all of a sudden Luza making things look easy, like it's 2017 charging through the field, and he has stopped Ray Alfala's march to the front short, as this is the first time tonight under green flag racing conditions Alfala has really lost the battle, and that number 6 Luza stretches it to 2 car lengths, and he sets his eyes on trying to get back up front. Zach Novak has been able to kick his feet up since this restart, found himself in the top spot. I'm not going to say he kind of walked into it. He had a very good pit stop, was able to pick up the spots on pit road, took over the race lead, has yet to look back at lap 55, sorry, as we continue to work into the middle portion of this race and close to halfway home.
and he's shown consistent speed throughout the first run as well. So no surprise that Novak is running up front, but now that Ryan Luza has clean air, we'll see if he can reel in the 15 of Novak. Man, Taylor Hurst keeps trying to get to the inside of Ray Alfala. He can set up the pass in the 74, just can't get that run off that Ray Alfala can get, and it seems like Alfala is so good off turn 2 that whatever Hurst can do to try to get to the inside here down into corner number 1, Alfala drives away with it down the back straightaway. Great little battle though for position number 3 as they continue on. Schoenberg in 5th, and look who's made his way up towards the top 5. Jimmy Mullis in the number 27 is on the back door of Schoenberg.
Schoenberg's having a great run tonight as well. He's moved from 14th to 5th, Mullis 17th to 6th, and with all of these drivers going into the positives, somebody's going to have problems, and it was really Bias and Duval through a lot of the pit stop stuff. Duval's gone 6th to 34th, and Bias has fallen 4th to 36th. That has allowed these drivers to take up spots in the top 10. You're still seeing that same core group lead this one with Novak and Luza back to 1-2. Hurst is still trying, by the way. You can see him looking to the inside of that red number 2 of Alfala again, continuing to try to get something going on the inside. He's about 0 for 11 on attempts so far, but you got to tip your cap to the 74 machine and not just roll it over and give it this one up. I guess he figures the best way to stay in 4th is to continue to be on the attack, and he stays a good bit in front of Schoenberg. Not an immediate threat right now as the 55.
Schoenberg's a little bit too far back to really be a worry for Taylor Hurst, but at the same time, you don't want to push yourself too hard trying to fight with Ray Alfala and maybe use up your stuff. Ray's been able to stretch that gap out just enough that Taylor can't quite get it there, and like Evan just said, he's something like 0 for 11, but only got to hit that one home run to potentially pick yourself up that 3rd spot. But as we're approaching half distance, I'm not sure if I'm that number 74 car, if I want to get too over anxious about fighting over 3rd place when you have the likes of Schoenberg and a big gaggle of cars behind. I'd rather settle in behind this 2 car and save the tires a little bit than get dragged back to those guys kicking and screaming and suddenly have a hornet's nest of fast cars to have to deal with as caution flies.
You have a hornet's nest and a race starting to up because a caution flag is out, and it's in the same spot of the racetrack. Adam Gilliland this time, the number 8 machine. Heavy front and rear end damage. Just secondly, this one on the replay. We saw Overland get really tight. He's the one that really initiated the contact in that first one. And this time it was Adam Gilliland who just kept pushing up and up the hill. And at 29 really didn't do him many favors. Pitgrass was right on his door. But you'll see it right here. The 8's pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. And the 29 machine right there, and there's the contact that finally hooks him into the outside wall. It was a big hit for Adam Gilliland. He came down in front of a big pack of cars, and somehow, again, we don't have a parking lot. It remains a 1-car incident.
Yeah, but a tough break for Adam Gilliland nonetheless, and I'm sure he'll rebound in a couple of weeks' time at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Likes that racetrack out there, and I'm sure he'll be ready to roll the dice. And speaking about rolling the dice, we'll come by this time and see who decides to elect to come down pit road. And monkey see, monkey do by the looks of it. Zach Novak leads, and everybody else for the most part coming down behind him. I don't see anybody within the top 15 or top 20 taking that gamble per se to stay out on the racetrack.
This will definitely shake things up because that first yellow came right when everybody was going to pit anyways. Now this shakes up the strategy because you're not going to be able to at least make it to the end of this race at lap 60 to 125 with the fuel that you're about to get on board. So it still would be a one-stop race at this point on. Let's see if Zach Novak, though, could make a little bit more pit road magic. He will go with right side tires first. Obviously going to top it off with race fuel, but does he go for the 4-tire call for the 15 machine? Looks like he will. So he wants the works. He came into pit road 3rd last time, off first. He's going to have a run for his money, and he is not going to get it again. How about Jimmy Mullis and Ryan Luza, who had the bad stop last time, comes in and puts it on a dime. 3rd in, 1st out. Luza, the big winner on that one.
Great stop from that number 6 car to get himself out to the race lead, and great one from Jimmy Mullis as well to get himself out into 2nd. Then you have the likes of course, Novak, Taylor Hurst, and Ray Alfala falls back to 5th, Blake Reynolds in 6th, and a couple other drivers I think we may have seen drop out of the top 5 as well.
Always something that you expect to see, but I think relatively everybody was in agreement on what the call was going to be, with Luza and Mullis jumping in front of Novak, Hurst and Alfala through the top 5. with Reynolds, Schoenberg, Davies, Rattler, and Davis to what would be your top 10. Something else I think is interesting, nobody is tucked up behind the pace car looking for a wave by. Gilliland, who was involved in the accident, is not currently on the racetrack, and Kenny Humpy was able to get one additional lap back by staying out. He's only 2 laps down now, so continuing to work his way into the picture.
Yeah, with Ryan Luza going back to the front of the field, we'll see what he can do in clean air. That was the issue on that last restart where he had to come up from 10th and took him a little time through the traffic. Not as bad as one would possibly think with the competition that's up in front. But now with clean air, we'll see if Ryan Luza can possibly check out and try to make some ground and put some time between himself, Jimmy Mullis, Zach Novak, and the rest of this field in this restart.
Driver we've been following tonight, Logan DeClamp, it's just a high school senior. It's a little bit of a step above that, but obviously the youth movement is also very prevalent in the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series, and we'll take a quick opportunity as we work under yellow to step aside and get a word from them.
Things can get rough out there.
The bumper to the back of the 24!
You think you got the brass?
I proved it last season.
That was last year. Now we've got young blood ready to take out the old. Start your engines. It's time to race.
Welcome back live to RaceSpot TV's coverage of the 2018 NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series from Fontana, California's Auto Club Speedway. 3rd race of the 2018 campaign. We're happy that you're with us at RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Cheneth upstairs with you as we close in on the halfway point in tonight's Fontana 125, currently working lap 62. So in fact, when we come around the next time, we will be halfway home. Most of the passes for the race lead tonight have come from pit lane. Ryan Luza lost it last time, but he got it back this time. The number 6 Ford is going to be back in front of the field for the next restart due up. Jim Bullison is second, and previous race leader Zach Novak is going to be 3rd, Tim. So interesting to see how that continues to play a factor in tonight's race. Of course, the time into this yellow still puts us a pit stop away from getting to the end of this race as we take the green flag and begin to count down now towards the end.
Interested to see what Mullis can do on the outside. Was creeping his way towards the front of the field before that caution flag flew. Keep an eye on Keegan Leahy. He is back up to position number 11. He fell like a stone on the last restart, got up to that high groove. There's comers and goers through this race, and as we reach that halfway point of the event, I'm sure we're going to see it, especially here in the second half. Guys like Ray Alfala had to move his way up. Brian Schoenberg's in the top 10. Brad Davies, David Rattler. A lot of familiar names. We'll see how they shake out.
This car going to drop down when it was Zach Novak at the helm. He took off right away on the restart. We'll see what strategy the number 6 Ryan Luza implements. He has not led us to a restart so far tonight, as the second caution on the afternoon is going to go behind us. The 6 car holds off a little bit longer, but puts the right foot down, and we are halfway home from Fontana. Green flag is back in the air. Top 2 will single file out. The battle will be for 3rd between Novak and Hurst to turn 1.
Down in towards 1 and 2 for the first time. They're fading out 3 wide for 6. The 2 machine of Alfala tries to hook up the top to 74 of Taylor Hurst, trying to pick up a spot on Zach Novak as well as they work themselves down this back straightaway for the 63rd time out of 125. What is Ryan Michaeluza who's going to lead him in towards 3 and 4.
Leading that group, it's Alfala, and the 2 machine stormed his way into the top 5, really, but hasn't been able to get that little bit extra sense get in here. He's the 3rd wheel of the group right now with the 15 to machine Novak in front. Hurst still in the middle, but a battle for the race lead may have been on there. You saw the block thrown as the 27 Mullis went low on the 6. Luza shut the door once, but he can't do it twice. Trying again now, and he will. He'll drive it in hard and cut the bottom off. Mullis left with no opportunity besides the apron. Rolls out of it a little bit, stays P2.
Yeah, Mullis showed a lot of speed down into corners number 3 and 4. Ryan Luza looked a wee bit better in that end, 1 and 2. We'll see what Mullis can do to try to get back up to Ryan Luza as they work through corners number 3 and 4. Novak trying to close in on this battle. Hurst single file, as is Ray Alfala and Blake Reynolds. But that battle for the lead looks like it's subsided for the time being. Ryan Luza looks like he's turned the wick up.
Luza, I think, maybe got kicked into gear a little bit by that mistake he made on pit road. Again, when it all happened, he was out in front and leading this race. He was in a fantastic position. I don't think there's any point tonight that he hasn't looked like the fastest car. I just think because he was leading and Ray Alfala started way back in 18th, Alfala's making all of these passes, just made the two look quicker. I think those two cars were pretty even, but at this point, Alfala again struggling in traffic, as he might now get passed up by the 13 of Brad Davies to the inside.
Ray's trying to make something happen, though, still on that upper groove. That's going to be the big thing, is I think those that 6 and the 2, they definitely look like the quickest.
Brian Schoenberg is for position number 2, heating up. And keep in mind here, Evan, Brian Schoenberg, this is his home track. He's never finished inside the top 20 in NPAS competition at this racetrack. Brian Schoenberg trying to put that behind him.
Drivers were messing with him earlier tonight, asking if he was going to get another 21st position finish here tonight. Did have an incident back in the pack there. You saw the end of it. It was the 05 of Nick Ottinger. You'll take a second look now on a RaceSpot TV replay. He's on the inside of the racetrack right here, and he tries to step up the hill a little bit, trying to side draft maybe with Dylan Duval, and right there tags him. Duval somehow does not rack. It was the 05 who got the worst of it. Did a pretty good job of limiting the contact, but he still got into the inside wall and had to go, as you see, on a little bit of an off-road excursion. Nick Ottinger is still on track. He does fall, though, to 38th position. That would put him last on the lead lap, and he has a pretty substantial amount of damage. Again, as always, could be worse, but that incident involving two cars, no yellow as we stay green.
This, I think, pretty much going to end the 05 machine tonight. I think we'll be able to get back out there, but less than 60 laps remaining in this race, and the damage he has, it's going to be quite a while. He's down on pit road, and he will not have a lot of time to potentially get back up and pick positions after getting repairs. That said, Ryan Michaeluza still leads this thing with Brian Schoenberg in the second spot, Jimmy Mullis third, Novak fourth, and Taylor Hurst rounds out your top 5 as they work themselves down the front straightaway once again. And for the most part, your top 10, I think top 15, have all gotten themselves single file. First side-by-side with the 24, Keegan Lee.
Leahy has been no stranger to that tonight. He's in the middle of a thick pack right now, and again, everybody just trying to get through these first 15 to 20 laps of the run. If you can get to that point, again, you're never going to be completely away from somebody, but just look how tight that single file line is, all the way snaking off of the quarter. I don't think anybody besides your race leader, first to second, and let's not count Nick Ottinger in 38th who had the incident. The biggest gap between two positions in the field is between first and second at a half a second, and that's not a lot. So you can see on that wide shot just how tight everybody is in the center.
As Davies tries to hold off Keegan Leahy, you look at Keegan Leahy, you look at Ray Alfala, you look at Michael Conti. There's 3 drivers that have had some very interesting nights so far as we just entered the second half of this race. Conti was up front, fell back, now working back towards the front. Alfala started mid-pack, worked up towards the front, has fallen back a little bit as he looks to the inside of Davies, and then Keegan Leahy started up front, went to the back of the pack on that second run, and now is working back towards the front. So it's only been 71 laps so far in this one, but we've had some drivers with some interesting stories throughout this race so far, and we've still got laps to work here as Davies tries to tuck in tight underneath Ray Alfala, trying to make that move back.
You can see a fight for second now as well, going on just a little bit in front of the battle with Brad Davies once more. It's the 55 of Schoenberg on the defensive. Jimmy Mullis, nice and quick on the inside, dove down, took the lane away, and he's already got 2 car lengths by the time he comes up off of the quarter. Nice move to move back into the number 2 position. He's still, again, obviously closely guarded. Schoenberg right there, looking to the inside, and Hurst Novak not all that far back either. The 55, in fact, going to lose a little bit of time on the attempted look to the inside. That might hurt him here with Hurst off of the corner.
How many times have we seen this tonight? The 74 looking up the inside of somebody here and towards these corners of number 1 and 2, and he's going to try it on Brian Schoenberg this time. He wasn't able to make it work on the 2 of Ray Alfala, but through corners number 1, I think that 74 is going to get him clear. So move Taylor Hurst up a spot, move Brian Schoenberg at -1 as they head down the back straight.
3-car group now trying to keep up, but with Mullis who's out in front, but it's all Ryan Michaeluza. We cross the halfway point off for the race start, but now that things are a little bit less hectic as we've worked a couple of laps into this run, let's take this opportunity to take a look and tonight's midway race break brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the globe. And in the fast-paced world of eSports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR and many more. At lap number 74, it is Ryan Michaelusa leading this race. Best car on track. 7 seconds in front of Jimmy Mullis, who runs in the number 2 position. Taylor Hurst is third. Brian Schoenberg runs in fourth with Zach Novak right where he started in the number 5 position. Bolster Keegan Leahy down to P6 as they run right now, with Ray Alfala up a few in 7th. Brad Davies runs in 8th spot. Blake Reynolds is 9th, and Michael Conti rounds out your top 10.
And Michael Conti just lost that spot to Derek Bordeaux in a very entertaining battle back here between himself and Colton Davis. You see it on your screen. Christian Chalner, a part of this battle as well, scored last time by in 13th, but he's almost trying to make it 3 wide there for that spot. Logan Clampett, Marcus Richardson, a part of that battle as well. The Chaos crew starting to make their way towards the front. Casey Kerwin in 16th, Matt Busa in 17th, Nolan Scott in 18th. Corey Vincent and Ryan Lowe complete your top 20.
Further down the field here, Brandon Pipgrass runs 21st with David Rattler 22nd, Timmy Hill 23rd, Cody Bias, Michael Guest round out your top 25 with Joe Letterello, Casey Tucker, Bobby Zielinski, Chris Shearburn, and Nick Shelton rounding out your top 30.
And continuing on through 31st position is Philip Diaz, 32nd for Chris Overland, 33rd, Dylan Duvall, Jake Sturgis is 34th, and Andrew Fayash, the 3rd, has fallen to 35th position. Jarl Tien continuing on through, you got Alex Bergeron, 36th, then Jarl Tien, 37th, Nick Ottinger, 38th, Kenny Uppy, 39th, and all the way at the back, Adam Gilliland in 40th. We'll round out your 40-car field. Humpy is still on track, 2 laps down in 39th, but Adam Gilliland is 17 laps down in 40th. That car is still not returned to the racetrack after being involved in the accident, and it looks like his night may be done. That's been a look at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today, and all new iRacing memberships are 40% off, and they contain all the basic content you need to start your iRacing career today. So if you want more information on that specifically, go to iRacing.com/membership.
We saw some entertaining battles throughout that field when we had the midway race break, but this battle right here that's on your screen, the 74 of Taylor Hurst, continues to work the inside of Jimmy Mullis, and we've seen this play out multiple times this evening. The 74 will set a pass up, go to the inside, but just doesn't have that drive off. We saw Ray Alfala earlier when he showed all that speed in that first run, really get those runs off of corner number 2. That's what Taylor Hurst right now is lacking. Sets it up down to the inside of Jimmy Mullis, but just can't seem to do anything with it off the corner. But right now, position number 3, still a little ways to run in this race, and you see that field behind, a lot of single file racing. Looks like Bordeaux to the inside, battling with Brian Schoenberg, Blake Reynolds back here as well, but for the most part, toward the top 20 or so, everybody's single file and picking off those quick passes.
And Schoenberg up at the outside of the racetrack again. This portion of tonight's broadcast brought to you by Herculiner Bed Lawners. The tough comes easy, and I feel like every time I check in with that 55 of Schoenberg, he's going the wrong direction on the outside of the racetrack. He has had overall a very good night, is still in the green, but it seems like when he gets stuck up at the outside of the racetrack, he doesn't just lose one. It's going to be a group of 2 or 3 cars that pounce on him, and that's the case right there. Davies, Bordeaux, and now Reynolds all get to him in sequence.
Some people have liked running that upper groove like we've seen with the 2 of Alfala, but it seems that this racetrack that's sort of rubbered in has really taken a liking to the bottom line. The 13 of Brad Davies, he's currently running the top with Derek Bordeaux right now, but I think Bordeaux has a slight advantage. That said, Davies, good run off of corner number 4 towards this front straightaway. That's, I think, going to put him just out in front for now, but as they run towards 3 and 4, what can Bordeaux maybe make happen? They're both going to run. Actually, no, they're going to kind of swap. 13 going to go to the bottom. The 04 runs the middle on entry, and then he gets a very, very late apex, tracks out to the wall, and can that 04 machine get a run on Brad?
If he can, he looks to the inside, and here we go, side by side, the fight for 7th. Bordeaux on the inside of Davies. On board with Davies, he took a very wide arc in. Bordeaux trying to keep that car low, and he does make that pass for position. So Bordeaux going to pick up another spot as he slowly starts to pick away at the field. And Brad Davies struggles in the later ends of these runs. It is interesting to describe somebody who's running at 8th and now 9th position as struggling, but I think Davies has got a little bit more in him. He just needs to put a couple of good laps together. We'll see if something comes from that. A fight for second now is on. That's Taylor Hurst, number 74 car, in front of Jimmy Mullis. Just passed him that time at a turn 2. We'll see if Mullis has anything to come back at him, but Taylor Hurst might be second for the first time tonight.
It took him about 2 laps to set up the pass, make the pass, and clear Jimmy Mullis. But now that he's got that position, we'll see if he can try to reel in Ryan Luza in front of him. He's got some clean air, and now Mullis about a length or so back from that number 74 as you ride on board with Jimmy Mullis and the Racing Virginia number 27 down into the corner. Behind them, oh, here comes Keegan Leahy. Leahy to the inside of Novak to pick up 1 spot and move himself a little bit closer towards the front of the field. Currently now in position number 4, but there's that VRS Chevrolet closing in and trying to make something happen here. We haven't talked about Keegan Leahy a whole lot here in the middle stages of this race, but now that he's rebounded from the way to the back of the field, he might be a contender before this thing's all said and done.
It's kind of amazing how somebody can just float around the top 10 and be relatively quiet while doing so. The driver who came into tonight as the leader in the championship standings through 2 races with 82 total points, obviously took the win 2 weeks ago for the ISM Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. Started tonight from pole position and is trying to, again, just get that little bit extra. He, Ray Alfala, some other names have been able to show fast cars. Obviously a different story with Alfala moving through the pack, and Leahy started up front, but you have drivers with speed, no doubt, but they don't have number 1 speed. They can get up to 2nd, they can get 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but everybody looking for that little bit more. It seems like those key passes have been coming in the strategy department tonight from pit road as they'll move to the inside. Here comes Leahy trying to get around Mullis. Side by side we go for 3rd.
24 machine looks down to the bottom on that 27 car, and I think he's going to have this done relatively quickly. Move Keegan Lee up into that 3rd spot, and now he's going to start trying to reel in that 74, but Jimmy Mullis isn't done yet. Going to work the cutback here. We're not quite able to maintain the overlap, so Keegan is safe for the moment. Will that moment last all the way through 3 and 4? Yes, it will. They're going to be single file as they roll through this part of the racetrack as well. So pole sitter Keegan Lee slowly moving his way forward, now setting his sights on Taylor Hurst and that 74 just out in front of him.
You can see Taylor Hurst, the first car on your screen there. There's a reason you don't see Luza because he is 2 seconds in front of him. There he is, way off into turn number 1. You see the yellow bumper of the number 6 entry way out in front. That's the gap. That's what 2 seconds looks like between Luza and Hurst. So again, obviously you want to get every single spot you can. If you can get up the Hurst and get the job done, that's great. Although I don't know if Mullis is going to let Leahy just walk all over him. He was peaking down low that time at a 2, but it is a big difference from getting to 2nd and getting to the race lead tonight, and we've seen that consistently over the course of the now almost 85 completed laps tonight for the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. Bala about a half a car length, and it's going to be the difference maker in clearing the 27 machine into the quarter. So Alfala will get that spot. Alfala to 4th. Mullis stays in 5th. But again, you see on the left-hand side of your screen, that's Keegan Leahy. Not all that far back off of Hurst. Alfala, Mullis, not all that far in front of Zach Novak. This 5-car pack still very much up in the air as we are now inside of our fuel window to get to the end of this race. Less than 40 laps to go. A pit stop at any point now would allow you to go to the end. Of course, yellows and all of that plays a major factor into when you're going to pull the trigger.
Which gives you a couple options. You can either do a long 40-lap run at some point, then a short 20-lapper, or you can split the difference at about 30 and 30. And it's going to be interesting to see what these guys actually choose to do as we're closing in on that 30-lap count in this green flag run.
First little bit of green flag just barely gets started before the yellow kind of cut that down after only 4 cars came down to the pit lane. But if somebody like a Brad Davies were to pit from 8th position, I'm not sure that would draw the likes of Leahy and Alfala down pit road, or your race leaders and such. But we did talk about the obvious big difference in the tires. You come down pit road, you're going to be a lot quicker right when you come off. So who is it going to take to make the big swing? Well, how about Keegan Leahy down pit road? We'll see if that's going to be enough to convince other drivers to come down pit road. Are they going to react down? He'll be down fresh tires. He'll be a little bit over 2 seconds per lap faster, but he gets back out on track. Is that going to be enough to draw Luza down, or is somebody like him 2.3 seconds in front of the rest of the field in a good enough spot that he doesn't really care what somebody else is doing? Do they react or do they not? We'll find out.
I think it's definitely going to get their head scratching as Keegan Leahy comes down, gets his service on pit road. Luza is going to stay out on the racetrack for one more lap. But these guys last came down pit road at what, lap 60-ish, as we get one more taker down onto pit road. That's Zach Novak going to peel off the racetrack and onto pit road. So if they go from lap 60 to about lap 90, that's 30 laps, and then they got about 35 to the end. So they're splitting up this run a little bit as you see a couple near the middle portion of the field come down pit road and get service to their race car. So I think this is a smart move by these drivers to really come down now and split up this run into two. But then again, we're up here and we're not on the pit boxes.
That's why they've got the crew chiefs obviously helping about. Again, a lot of these teams have other people in the sim with them, helping them out on strategy. Of course, the iRacing services offer you an automatic spotter, let you know cars high, cars low. But at this level of sim racing, you have a completely dedicated team to crunching these numbers. But a couple of drivers want to come down. There's this 74 Taylor Hurston from second, and he's going to draw a crowd. A lot more drivers in. Derek Bordeaux, one of the drivers down pit road. Brad Davies is in as well. So here comes a big influx of fast cars. Richardson, Kerwin, Rattler, and Scott all down pit road. Luza still all on his lonesome out outside. Obviously, everybody coming down needs enough fuel to get to the end. At this point, it's basically an entire fill-up to be able to reach the end distance at lap 125. But with the second place car pitting, Luza's got no choice. And here comes your race leader at lap number 92. Conservative entry, milking that 2-second gap, not wanting to make a mistake.
A number of drivers opting to continue to stay out. Ray Alfala, he stays out there on the racetrack. Jimmy Mullis in the 27, he sticks it out there. Logan Clampett in the 46, he's going to stay out as well. Brandon Pittgrass, so a handful of relevant names keep the way out front and maintain the track position. I can't say I blame him because the trend this year, Evan, has been when you pit early, a caution flies. And the other thing to keep in mind is that for these guys who haven't pit yet, I don't think you can come down with the next couple of laps and be in a good position. I think at this point you need to stay out for another 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 laps in order to undertake the tire disadvantage you just gave yourself. But 3 times going to disagree with me. Alfala comes to pit road, Mullis stays out.
And obviously the concern with pitting early into those company cars that short pitted is you're going to lose a lap when you pit. That's what we saw. 4 drivers get stuck a lap down. And we had that first yellow come out about, at this point, nearly 50 or so laps ago, around lap 40. That's the concern with a lot of drivers that tends to push them away from the short pit call. There's also a group of drivers who are really going to want to stretch this thing out. We're not pitting because we're running out of fuel. We're not far from there, but we're pitting now because we're about halfway through the last time we took a restart, split the remaining laps in half, get to the end of this, and we're inside of the fuel window. Now you're going to have us come down pit road, but I'm more so looking at the Reynoldses and the Lows and the Overlands, the drivers who have been packed. They might try to stay out a little bit longer, see how far they can go, and maybe hope a yellow could fall in their favor. That would see.
Chris Shearburn is one of those that has stayed out on the racetrack, and they'll continue to stay out on the racetrack this time. But Chris Overland and Ryan Lowe, when they were on the racetrack with those old tires, they were being passed left, right, and center by those drivers on new tires. Not as bad right now for Shearburn or Shelton, but Shelton will have the O2 car come up right behind him on fresh rubber, and then just behind there's a couple more that are looking to try to get up here and make the move with those fresh tires. So watch Shelton, watch Shearburn running in second and third. But Blake Reynolds was running within the top 5 before that, or top 10, so maybe a little bit of a different strategy trying to win this thing.
We definitely have that contingency staying out. Luza, the driver who was leading this race, is right now scored in 10th position. That puts him 28 seconds off of the race lead. So everybody in front of him, they have to wait for those drivers to come down to the pit lane for one final time. So that's about the group of drivers who wants to pull the strategy card. I think that green flag pit stops have been going on for a long enough time that we've separated them. So it's Reynolds, Shearburn, Shelton, Schoenberg, Fash, along with Conti, Duval, Busa, and Ottinger. Those are the drivers who have definitely mixed themselves into the conversation. And as we enter now the final 30 laps of this race, and we have enough fuel to go to the end, this final portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, the #1 selling DEF in America, as we run it to the end.
Your race leader, Blake Reynolds, is going to continue to try to work these old tires. And well, look at all the quicker traffic around these guys that have stayed out, Evan. You see lapped cars unlapping themselves at a blistering pace right now. Blake Reynolds is trying to pick the points of the racetrack where cars aren't that much quicker than him. and getting his way out of the way as best as he possibly can. Let's see if he thinks about coming towards pit road just yet. He works his way down. No, he does not. Likely has about 7 or 8 laps left in that number 66, I think, on fuel, maybe a little bit more, but he's likely to be having to come down relatively shortly. Same for all these guys who've yet to pit, but they need to run it as long as they can so they can sort of have the reverse, so they can have the overcut, so to speak, and the likes of those who are out there, Schoenberg, Luza, Hurst, Leahy, Novak, Alfala, and their tires start to go away. Your tires are still nice and new, and you can work your way forward.
And that's definitely obviously something that you keep in mind at the end of the run. I was talking a lot about how when the drivers make that first trip down to the pit lane, they're going to be very fast out of the gate. That's true, and it might make, at least on the scoring sheet, look like a big swing. All of a sudden, you're 7 seconds behind somebody that you were in front of, but of course, you got the fresher tires later. Your tires are going to last a little bit longer, and that's why you try to find the sweet spot. That's why, Tim, as you and I were talking about just a little bit ago, you got guys on top of the box, much smarter than we are, pushing the buttons and figuring out when that time to come down pit road was. Still, we have those 7 drivers in front of Luza, and Ottinger's going to get passed up shortly, even before he makes a trip down to the pit lane, so the magic number is going to fall to 6. Obviously, with those drivers having to pit, those many still need to come down at a 25-second disadvantage. If those drivers could somehow make it to the end, I don't think Luza would catch them, but I don't think that they're anywhere close to being within that window. So at this point, it's a matter of time. What comes first? Them running out of fuel and coming down, or maybe a late race yellow to shake things up?
Yeah, you really have to play with the cards you're dealt. Michael Conti, Matt Busa coming on to pit road right now and surrendering top 5 positions. And you talk about some of those guys on top of the boxes, Brandon Hastings being one of those, working with the Team Conti guys and working with the Gale Force Sim Racing guys, and he had that strategy at Daytona, tried to play it a little bit off key, and it worked out for them there. So we'll see if they can pull any last-ditch effort here as Conti works towards the box. Reynolds continues to pace this field up in front, but he's going to have to come down pit road relatively soon. Shelton and Andrew Fayash III still out on the racetrack. They are your top 3. And there's another driver, Andrew Fayash III, who's known to stretch it on fuel, play some strategy, and come out with some good finishes out of these strategy calls. But I think he might be hoping for a caution here to try to get some track position.
He's definitely somebody who's been known to play the strategy card, and again, getting a yellow is part of it. It's something that's most certainly out of your control, but this strategy very much banks on having something go your way, and it's a scenario where, hey, if I'm running outside of the top 20, top 30, I really don't have much to lose. But for race leader right now, Blake Reynolds, the last time he pitted was 42 laps ago. He's not going to be able to stretch this one to lap 125. You would imagine Shelton, Fayash all in the same box. In fact, the 77 of Fayash is going to have to come down pit road as he finally gives up on that fight. So only Reynolds now and Shelton stand in between Ryan Luza and going back to the top of the mountain. Taylor Hurst is running right now in 5th spot. That would become 2nd when all of this cycles through. He is running only 1.5 seconds behind Ryan Luza, so keep an eye because we may not be done just yet.
Definitely don't think we're going to be done just yet. Let's keep an eye on this 66 of Blake Reynolds. He's going to go past pit entry yet again. So fantastic fuel economy here for the 66, and Nick Shelton is going to do the same thing as well. So these guys getting very, very good economy as they head across the start-finish line once again. Andrew Fayash is going to be leaving his box, and Ryan Luza will be cycling into that 3rd spot with the 74 Taylor Hurst. Just behind, then you have Keegan Lee and Ray Alfala not far off the mark as well.
Alfala, somebody again who made a very spirited charge in the opening laps of this race, rocketed into the top 5 and still has a very fast car, but again couldn't get that little bit more. He'll end up with possibly a top 3 if all of this pans out for him. He still runs in front of the likes of Novak and Logan DeClampett, who is our featured driver for the race. We've had many of opportunities this evening to run on board with Logan DeClampett as he has worked his way through the field. He'll end up probably within or just shy of a top 5, but miles an hour that time, headed into turn 3, 2:03 as he heads back off to turn number 1. That lap time for the 66 was a 41.267. compared to the 40.424 Ryan Michaeluza, who while sitting 19, now only 18 seconds behind him. Just waiting on taking over the top spot in this race. Reynolds now burning fumes. Nearly 45 laps into a run. He'll hold the inside of the racetrack, and there he goes. Blake Reynolds will give up the race lead at lap 107. Slides it into the box, so no lack of aggressiveness. Comes down pit road. So will Nicholas Shelton right behind him. That's the number 12 car just behind. So now we pick up Ryan Luza in third position. He'll come out at turn number 4 this time by and regain the race lead inside of 20 to go.
If you weren't in a position to win the race, you had to try something. Good on Blake Reynolds and Nick Shelton, but it did not work out for them. Luza back to the top of the scoring pylon, and now look back to Taylor Hurst in position number 2, and pretty much alone right now in position number 2. No pressure from behind, no pressure in front of him as he tries to chase down Ryan Luza, about a 2 3/4 ahead of him. Keegan Leahy in position number 3, 2 seconds behind Taylor Hurst. Ray Alfala and Jimmy Mullis will be your top 5, and all those drivers in the top 5, Evan, right now, if they can cruise to the end of this race, they might finish the way they are. If they pick up a little bit of speed, they might be able to pick up a position or 2, but looks like right now they're pretty content to ride.
And I think at this point, everybody's not that they've accepted where they've run, but I think we talked earlier on in this with Randy about obviously drivers trying to pick up some spots where they qualified and such. This race has had, plenty of green flag action to the point where I think you've had a good opportunity to feel out what you've got. You've had a couple of restarts to shake things up, a tad bit of tire strategy in there as well. I think that most of these drivers are running about where they deserve to run. Now, if we were to group everybody up, I think the top 5, I might give Luza a little bit of an advantage, but I think anybody in those top 5, you look at the top 8 right now, everybody in that group has very fast race cars, and anything could happen off of a restart. So I think Luza has reasons to not want this one to get it a little bit more excited at the end as he works a comfortable 1.7 second advantage. But I think at this point now, everybody's cycled through. They've kind of landed where they expected themselves to be, and counting down the laps with 110 down, 15 to go this next time by. Really, for those in the top 3, I'm sure holding their breath.
It's going to be the big thing, and they better be, because, well, the top 3 is about to change. Ray Alfala has been running about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than most of these drivers, and he picks up that 3rd spot, and that's something I think we need to talk about. That 2 machine is very, very quick. Keep in mind, he was one of the later pitters around at lap number 90, 100 when he came down towards pit road, and because of that, he has a little bit of tire life left in that number 2 Flip Angle Motorsports machine. So I actually think that for Ray Alfala, if he can maintain this speed, he might have enough to get to Taylor Hurst and even potentially to Ryan Michaeluza. The lap times last time through was about a 1/10.5 in favor of Alfala, and that was while passing the 24 of Leahy.
Yeah, so Leahy's ended up dropping down to 4th spot again. He's had a little bit of an up and down night again. Obviously led this race early, got passed by Luza shortly thereafter, and had some mistakes that cost him some positions, but when he's gotten back to the top 5, he hasn't really stuttered since then. Far from over here with Alfala just in front and 3rd, and I think Jimmy Mullis is going to make this one a fight for 4th before this thing is said and done. We're side by side for 6th. How about Logan Clampett, our featured driver of the night? Hometown kid now residing in California, and he is going to get up on the inside of the 15 to Zach Novak, and he will take it away and fight for 6th here in the closing laps.
And just behind them, we saw a couple moments ago, we've got a quick glimpse of the battle back here for about 9th and 10th place. We talk about drivers riding. These guys are working on a caution flag right now. Bobby Zielinski to the inside of the 1 of Marcus Richardson, trying to take that position back. Chalner is there, Casey Kerwin is there, and David Rattler having a great run to really start off this season. A strong run to kick off this 2018 season for the 09, but Zielinski about 5 laps ago slapped the wall, lost the position to Marcus Richardson, got that position back, and now Richardson pushing him down the front straightaway. Christian Chalner right there as well, and this has been an entertaining battle, Evan, but one small misstep by one of these drivers is going to bunch this field up. They're working on a caution flag here.
Yeah, and the crew chiefs, I'm sure, and the teams, the guys up front just want us to get the cameras away. They do not want to watch this. 5 cars, throw a blanket over them into the closing laps here tonight from Fontana. In front of it is Zielinski, try to get away. Then the little Richardson, the 78 of Challenger, and now side by side with David Rattler coming up the inside on the 14 of Casey Kerwin. They are far from letting this run just run out of time and expire. Want to get their money's worth out of this thing as we close in on 10 to go. It is the closest group of 5 cars anywhere on track. It's about 11.5 seconds off of the race lead.
The 78 of Challenger is going to look up the inside of Richardson and make short work of that. Bobby Zielinski was the first car to get clear and said thank you very much. And it's going to be very, very tight. The 09 of David Rattler made a move on Casey Kerwin as well. Casey's going to look to maybe respond as they head towards corners number 3 and 4, but not going to make anything of it as the one machine of Richardson. He's going to pull alongside the 78 of Challenger. I should say it's the other way around. The 78 looking up to the top side of Richardson. Not going to, I think, be able to do anything with that just yet, as your pace is pretty much equaled out amongst your top drivers. Went from thinking that Ray might have the speed to catch some of these guys, but tires pretty much just dropped away on him, and now he's basically just gotten even. As we got a car pulling way down to the inside groove down the back straight. That's Kenny Humpy. I think that's partially getting rid of that blue flag appearing in the top left corner of the screen. He may have gotten a little loose off of 2 as well.
But the one thing we have to keep in mind as well is, Tim, this feels like a lot shorter of a run than it really is, because we were waiting on all of those cars to finally come down to the pit lane. It kind of looked like a 20-lap sprint to the end once Luza got it back up front, but these drivers all pitted with about 35 laps to go or so. So what Randy was saying is exactly right, is we are really on the longer end of a pretty good stretch. You look back, nearly 2 full green flag runs since we were last under a slow pace when drivers came down to the pit lane. So the tires are really wearing off at this point, even though it might not seem like it, just because we spent a lot of time kind of waiting for drivers to run out their clock and finally decide to drop down. So it was a very long green flag window, but all of these drivers up front pretty much pitted at the start of it all.
And a great rhythm to this race as well. As you mentioned, about halfway, these drivers came down pit road under caution. They had that green flag pit stop, and now we're less than 10 laps to go this time by for Ryan Luza, who has that 1.8-second lead on Taylor Hirsch. You continue to watch that battle back there. Casey Kerwin trying to make up a couple positions late in this one. Closest battle on the racetrack with multiple cars. We have a couple of 2 and 3 car battles throughout the pack, but it looks like for the most part, knock on wood, this 5-car battle has subsided, but we still got laps left in this race.
You can never know how one of these things is going to pan out. Lap 117 of 125 in the works, Randy. Just a little bit shy of an hour and a half since we took the American Ethanol green flag at the start of this one. And I can promise you, even though, yes, the lap times are a little bit slower because of the tires, for Ryan Luza specifically, these are feeling like the longest laps of the race, just trying to get to the end. Taylor Hirsch isn't catching him at all. As you see, Rattler now go to the inside of Christian Challenger to fight for 10th. Luza just wants this one to end, but that number is getting ever so slowly to 125, a lot slower than I'm sure he would like.
It's a big thing right now for Ryan Michael Luza. It's sort of the nervous point of the race right here, right now, because you're in that stage where if a caution flies, you're getting a 1 to 2 lap restart, and here in a couple laps, it's going to, I think, take a lot of weight off that number 6's shoulders because he has such a big lead. I don't think there's any way Taylor Hirsch is going to be able to get to him. I think that 6 car should be confident enough in himself to know that he's not going to throw this thing into the wall coming off one of these corners and potentially choke away a big win. But for Ryan Michael Luza, here in the next 2 laps, I think are the really last point for him where he really needs to be nervous about this race potentially getting turned upside down on him.
One more lap behind as we can get to lap 121. I think Luza will breathe a little bit more of a sigh of relief, because that would be the point to overturn, where if you get to 4 laps to go or less, a yellow flag would end this race. There is no sort of overtime system in effect in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series, so 4 laps to go or less would not give us an opportunity to run through our yellow flag cycle, open, close pit lane, and get set for a restart. This race would end under caution flag conditions. So even for Luza, he's only going to have to hold his breath for maybe 4 more laps as soon as he's on the driver, assuming that he makes that mistake. And again, it should be fine. Hurst, again, Alfala, all very much separated from one another. Mullis all by himself. Leahy's kind of gotten in no man's land as well. 8th on back is where it gets fun, but everybody in the top 7 have at least 1 second in between each car.
And really, the only battle within the top 10 right now, Zielinski has pulled away from Challenger, who's battling with David Rattler right now. That's the only real battle within the top 10. There's a couple of 2 and 3 car battles outside this battle for position number 10, the final top 10 position here at Auto Club, but for the most part, everybody is trying to get to the end of this race. Maybe pick up a position or two, but those top 9 definitely have some space in between them. The closest battle near the front of the field is this one you're seeing on your screen. Chalner trying to hold off David Rattler. Rattler, little slide down there into corner number 1 and 2, and started off the race strong, trying to finish it strong. Started 11th, finished 11th. Rattler wants a top 10 now.
Rattler wants to hang on to that if he can. He just needs to get those extra 0.4 of a second up and get around Christian Challoner. Challoner's been a little bit busy in these last few laps, trying to hold off for a couple of positions here and there. And you can definitely see Rattler close enough to strike. He just needs that little bit extra. For Ryan Michaeluza, though, working now, lap 122. You can see the laps continue to count on the left-hand side of your screen. The full running order go by on the top of your screen. But this time by, he will take 3 laps to go. He is inside of the home stretch and that point of no return. He just needs 3 more clean laps to the end, and he has about half of a turn to the next car in front of him, so no lap traffic a concern either.
Just 3 more laps here at the place that Penske built for Ryan Michaeluza, and he has more than enough time in the rearview mirror to not even really have to push with it. And he's still going quicker than that car, running in second of Taylor Hurst as well. So for Ryan Michaeluza, who had such a strong rookie season last year, put on a dominating performance through the midpoint of the season, and then was so good in the playoff rounds late in that championship to be able to take home that championship in his rookie season as he heads towards 3 and 4. More than enough experience in that 6 car, I think, to be fully confident in himself. He's going to be looking at popsicle sticks in the air. 2 to go at this one, and he's going to be winner of round number 3 here at Fontana.
And it hasn't been all fantastic for the Luza camp coming into tonight. Obviously, we talked about the likes of Leahy, top 5 in Daytona, a win last week to lead the championship coming into tonight, but he is not in the top 10 in points entering this one. He needs runs like this in these opening races, into the regular races on 2018, but he'll also become the first ever multi-time winner here in Fontana in the history of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. Took it home last year in 2017, as Randy had just mentioned. Maybe a good omen, because he went on later that season to take the championship. He's on the right foot once more, and he'll come to 4 for the final time. Ryan Luza going to take his first win of 2018. Winner tonight from Auto Club.
What a fantastic run from that number 6 car. The rest of your drivers are cycling their way through. We got one fight towards the end. Challoner and Rattler. Challoner is going to be able to hold on to that top 10 as a couple other drivers running their way through. 66 of Blake Reynolds, by the way, after that late pit stop. He managed to recover his way up toward the top 20 finish. He comes home 19th.
Good results for a handful of drivers. The likes of Leahy are able to maintain top 5. 2 drivers split the honors for the Hard Charger Award here tonight. You can see all the drivers come up to congratulate Ryan Michaeluza, the 24 machine I just mentioned, and Keegan Leahy, the driver who started on pole, coming up to say congratulations and a little bit of a hello that time at turn 4. And next machine going to be the lone driver that gets to go around that one final time. Ryan Michaeluza's got some celebrating to do, maybe trying to get 2018 back onto the right track. He will burn it down on the front straightaway. 3rd different winner in 3 races in 2018, and your defending series champion is back in victory lane.
Yeah, great to see the 6 car back to performance where he was last year. And I know it's way too early to talk about 0.7, but he had a good night. Ray Alfalla had a good night. They're former champions of this series. They know how to get it done. But coming into tonight, Nick Ottinger, Michael Conti, Dylan Duval, all within the top 5 in the point standings. They all finished, by the looks of it, outside the top 20. It's too early to really talk about points to lock yourselves into the playoffs. But if you can take one mulligan, you're going to probably look at Auto Club for some of those drivers.
First 13 rounds of this regular season, all about qualifying for the playoffs, and then we'll enter a new 5-round format. Take us to the final 5 weeks of the season, of course, leading up to the season finale at Homestead. But anytime you can take points, especially early in the year where they might get overlooked, you'll take it, and Ryan Luza is your winner tonight from Fontana. We'll go trackside, get some post-race reaction in just a moment. Before we do so, let's look top to bottom and take a look at tonight's full race results. Ryan Luza gets the win first for him on 2018, with Taylor Hurst coming home in the number 2 position. Ray Alfalla comes home 3rd tonight. Jimmy Mullis is 4th, and Keegan Leahy Leahy rounds out through your top 5. It's Logan Clampett in P6. Zach Novak in 7th. Brad Davies 8th. Bobby Zelensky 9th. And Christian Chalada rounds out your top 10.
Barely missing the top 10. It's David Rattler in position number 11, Casey Kerwin in 12th, Marcus Richardson, Brandon Pipgrass, and Cody Bias complete your top 15. Colton Davis in 16th, Chris Overland, one of those drivers that stayed out late, tried to get that pit strategy to work for him, comes home in position number 17. Derek Bordeaux in 18th. 19th is Blake Reynolds, and completing your top 20, it's the 10 of Corey Vincent.
Last time out, our featured driver, Nolan Scott, didn't have a good run at Phoenix, manages to get a good run here in California. He comes home 21st, Nick Shelton 22nd, Joe Letterello 23rd, Chris Shearburn 24th, Michael Connie 25th after starting 7th. Not a good day for him. Timmy Hill 26th, Phil Diaz 27th, Casey Tucker, Jake Sturgios, and the 55 of Brian Schoenberg after being out front early in this one. He comes home 30th.
Matt Boos is going to end up first on the deck page here in 31st position. Dylan Duvall is 32nd. Ryan Lowe 33rd. Michael Gens 34th. And Yarl Tien 35th. That all round out the drivers on the lead lap. 35 of 40, an impressive number over the course of 250 miles. One lap down, going to be 36th through 38th position. That's Nick Ottinger in 36th. Andrew Fash, the 3rd and 37th. And Alex Bergeron in 38th. The two drivers who did not make it all the way home tonight, Kenny Humpy in 39th. And Adam Gilliland in 40th position. We'll take another quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we head to Victory Lane. Ryan Luza, your winner tonight for the Fontana at Auto Club Speedway in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series at RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live.
PU 402, row 41.
Jimmy Johnson, the fastest gun in the West.
Section 104, row 4.
Blaney out of the first win.
Section 25, row 3.
What a year for Bubba.
Section O, row 25.
Keselowski's gonna win at Talladega.
Section 156, row 4.
Kurt Busch to the lead on the backstretch.
Section 233, row 1.
Martin Truex Jr. wins.
You get a seat, but we doubt you'll ever use it. Grab your seats at NASCAR.com/tickets today.
Welcome back live to RaceSpot TV's continuing coverage of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series at iRacing Live tonight from Fontana, California. And the virtual Auto Club Speedway, Ryan Luza goes to victory lane. He becomes the third different winner in 3 races so far in 2018 as we welcome you back inside the RaceSpot TV booth for the post-race show. Myself, Evan Pasoko, along with Tim Terry and Randy Chenneth. Going to be trackside with your top 5 finishers momentarily. But of course, the way this would have played out, Tim, a very dominant performance when it mattered the most for your defending series champion.
And how about that green flag run at the end? 60-something laps green to the finish of this one. And these drivers absolutely put on a show this evening. And Ryan Luza flexing his muscles again, coming home with the win, second time at Auto Club, and trying to defend that championship, send a statement here tonight.
63 laps all the way to the end of this one. Ryan Luza ended up 1.5 seconds in front, and he is your race winner tonight from the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. Trackside now with the driver of the number 6 machine. Ryan, congratulations, and welcome back to Victory Lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. You guys were fast all night long. Didn't take you much longer than I think it was 11 laps to get to the race lead first. A little bit of attrition in the middle of the race to work through, but once you got that number 6 Fast Track Sims 4 to back out in front, you guys never looked back. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I had a really fast car. Huge thanks to Keegan for all the work that he's been doing with me being kind of out of commission as far as testing. But yeah, we had one really bad stop. I didn't overshoot, but I was lined up too far left, so I ended up having to reverse, and I fell like from the lead to 10th or something like that. But luckily got up to 2nd and then had a really good pit stop to take the lead. And I don't think we lost the lead like ever since that. So just a phenomenal car. A lot of fall off, super hard to drive. I felt like tonight. I really enjoyed it actually. Just like I said, huge thanks to Keegan Leahy and Chris Shearburn for all the work they've been putting in with me being half crippled.
Well, obviously, you put in some work yourself there, fighting through that. I know we were talking about it a good bit at Phoenix, and obviously, I'm sure, still dealing with that here tonight. There were points in this race you mentioned, but he had the little bit of a mix-up there on pit road, lost some positions. We saw a lot of drivers gain tons of spots. Ray was really fast. He worked himself into the top 5, finishes 3rd. Same with Jimmy. A couple of other guys, Bobby and Logan and all of them, go double digits to get up front. But it always seemed like when they got on a roll, they were good, and then you get a restart, they're stuck back in traffic, and they didn't have that little bit extra to be able to separate themselves. When you found yourself losing the race lead, dropping back into the middle of the pack, what was it about that number 6 car that allowed you to get right back up there and bounce back when it seemed like a lot of other fast cars just weren't able to do the same thing?
I think the factor with our car is we were one of the fastest cars on the short run and the long run. Towards the middle, it kind of evened out, but like on the first run, like me and Keegan were really worried about Ray because he was really running us down towards the end of that very long run. But the short run speed that we had really allowed us to pick up those spots when nobody else really could. And we could get out front, get our gap, and then maintain the gap. Whereas, they're sitting there fighting for the positions, and then they're too far back whenever their car does end up being a little bit better. So just a really good car in the end, just having the short run speed and the long run speed to make everything work.
What we noted coming into this one is that Auto Club always seems to be a little bit of a wild card. It not, into the same category the likes of Daytona, but 4 different races here and 4 different winners. You won this race back last year in 2017. It seemed to be a good sign as you guys went on to take the big trophy at the end of the year. You go back-to-back wins here now in Fontana. First driver to get 2 wins at this racetrack. What is it about this track that favors your driving style?
I don't know. I think it's just how smooth you have to be. Driving here, you can't really overdrive because you're going to blow the corner and really burn off your right front. Just to be able to kind of sit back, hit your marks, not overdrive. I think usually like here I have the best tire wear out of pretty much anybody whenever I compare with others. It's just being able to make the car go fast using as little as possible. So the bigger tracks I really enjoy, not super speedways. But the bigger speedways and the intermediate tracks, not so much short tracks, but really just the kind of in-betweeners. I think that's where I really thrive as a driver.
Well, there's got a couple of racetracks that fit that definition of what you guys like to race on in the next couple of weeks. 1 week off as always, but we'll be back at it from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 4th race of the year. That one coming up on Tuesday, April the 10th. Is that a racetrack that you guys think you can continue this momentum at find success?
For sure. We have a really good car week in and week out. Like I said, huge thanks to Keegan and Chris on that. I'm looking forward to being able to put in more time here in the next few weeks. Supposed to be having surgery here soon, so hopefully that doesn't make me miss a race. But huge thanks to them. Like I said, I can't give enough props because they're the ones that are carrying me here right now. Without them, I wouldn't even be sitting here in Victory Lane, so huge thanks to them. I'm sure we'll be strong in Vegas like we've been every single week so far. And huge thanks to Fast Track Sims for coming on board again this year, and you guys for the broadcast.
We always appreciate your time post-race.
It was fun during that first stint watching you fly through the field. What do you think you guys are missing in Q-Trim?
Oh, I'm not sure. I was a bit surprised by how slow we were in qualifying. Normally, you know, when I come off turn 4, I kind of know whether it was a good lap or not, and this one felt pretty good, and then we were 18th. So, you know, it's just one of those deals. But you know, I'm just happy that we had good pace. You know, thanks obviously to everybody at Step Angle Motorsports. Bobby Zelensky, he works very hard and he's very good at the setups, and you know, we're kind of the supporting cast as far as runs and giving feedback and whatnot. Yeah, you know, just happy to get the virtual racing school, the 2-car first top 5 of the season. So we've had a good solid start to our year.
Looking forward, I mean, I know Daytona didn't go the way you would have liked it. Phoenix, you were looking at a potential good result, but fortunately issues on pit road kind of took that away from you. You did manage to scramble your way back to a decent finish, though, all things considering. Seems like Auto Club, though, you get yourself a good finish here. Think you're going to be able to get in the groove for the likes of Vegas and then the 3 night races we have in a row at Richmond, Kansas, and Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit surprised by how fast we were tonight. You know, you don't really know how fast anybody is. You know, all the teams are very secretive of their lap times, or they'll just tell you the wrong lap times, or, you know, stuff like that. All the shenanigans that goes on in the 2 weeks between races. You know, sometimes we run the NIS races in between the weeks, and that's we kind of know how fast people are there, but, you know, people are always making their cars faster. So, you know, just one race at a time, so we'll go to Vegas next and see what happens there.
All right, 3-time, who gets it done on the red and black deuce?
Yeah, again, virtualracingschool.com. We offer coaching there, you know, myself and several other world championship and champions and, you know, drivers, and a lot of great caliber drivers offer coaching through there. So if you want a, you know, coaching session or just looking at a lot of telemetry and ways to improve your driving, go to virtualracingschool.com. Thanks to Chris Hennion and Liam Brotherton for being on the box, and, you know, we made sure the car got fueled this time. So, you know, we'll hopefully it doesn't happen again to us this year, and you know, thanks everybody to tune in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Fantastic run from the 3-time champion in this series. And, well, moving on down the line, the person who started next to him, Ray, went from 18th up to 3rd. Jimmy Mullis stood by with Tim Terry, who went from 17th up to 4th.
Yeah, get to chat with Jimmy Mullis once again. Second place run 2 weeks ago and finishes in the top 5 once again in position number 4. And Jimmy, worked your way through the field, had to start mid-pack here in this one.
Yeah, I messed up qualifying, which is kind of a usual for me for whatever reason. But yeah, the car was just on rails tonight, just as it was at Phoenix. It was honestly a lot better than I expected. I was just able to, you know, keep picking them off one by one, and found myself in the top 10 before the end of the first run, and was able to just hang around. And one of those stops, I was able to get a lot of track position and restart second, and that's what really helped me out, and I was able to stay up there through the end of the race.
63 lap run to the end. How hard was it to call the audible to come down pit road? Because we've seen some of these races near the end have a couple of caution flags in them.
I was a little nervous about it because I know one of those runs, Clamp It, he pit and got a yellow like immediately. So I think that's part of the reason that Matt made the call to stay out longer, and luckily it worked out because I was able to get around Keegan and everything. So but yeah, I was a little worried about it, but it paid off.
Daytona is Daytona. You come off Daytona with 2 straight top 5 finishes. We head to Vegas in a couple weeks' time. West Coast swing has been good to you so far. Can we get one more top 5 finish there?
I believe so. Vegas is easily my favorite mile and a half, so I'm excited about it, and I think we'll have just as good of a car there as we've had these past 2 weeks, maybe even better. So we'll, you know, keep working at it and trying to find the speed. Obviously, Keegan and Ryan have definitely found something that nobody else has yet, so hats off to those guys. They're doing a great job, but we're definitely closing in, and that's really nice to see.
And the top running driver from the Chaos crew here this evening once again. Who else is on the side of this car besides Racing Virginia?
Living for Larry, Heyman Hustle, Kicker, Forefront. I mean, the list goes on and on. Velocity, thanks to JDR Graphics also for the car. He's been doing a lot of schemes for me recently and stuff for my Twitch channel that I'm starting up. So huge thanks to him. Sim Seats, just everybody with the Richmond eSports program that we've got going. It's definitely been fun, and I really got to give a big thanks to my Lockdown Racing teammates for this week. As usual, we you know, put in a lot of work, probably more than most teams, which it always pays off, thankfully. So huge shout out to them, Zach, David, Matt especially, and Taylor. They did a great job on getting this thing hooked up, just like they always do.
There's Jimmy Mullis' second consecutive top 5 run in the series and moves himself up to 5th in the point standings, leaving this Auto Club Speedway. Believe Randy has caught up with our point leader and 5th place finisher Keegan Leahy.
Coming into the points, he was leading this championship, and I think he should be safe in doing so, leaving here at Fontana. But the number 24, Keegan, you were pretty quick in qualifying, put that thing on pole, went back a little bit early, though, kind of got shuffled into the mid-pack, but managed to scramble your way back to the top 5. How was your run here at Fontana?
Honestly, I'm disappointed, but to say that I'm disappointed to finish 5th in this field is pretty good, I think. Well, basically, I took it pretty easy that first run. Ryan had a little pace on me. I don't know how that guy can run so fast with one arm, but he's got it figured out now, I guess. And besides that, I was just taking it easy through that first run, and then kind of had some issues that second restart or the first restart, and made some contact with some people and got a little bit of damage. That kind of set me back a bit, but I just kept myself cool and grinded my way back up to the front and made it to a top 5.
This is putting you 3 for 3 for top 5s this season, and well, whenever you can start a championship out like that, it means it could be looking to be a good one. You think you have the what it takes to potentially win this championship this season?
Yeah, well, my first goal was to make it to end pace, and my second goal was to hopefully make the chase. But yeah, I think my goal is starting to shift to going for the championship now that I'm showing what kind of pace I can run. Getting a little more confident. Don't want to overdo it, but obviously really happy with my setups and my driving right now. So yeah, I'm definitely going for it for sure.
Thanks for joining us, Keegan. Before we let you go, who gets it done on that number 24 car?
Yeah, I hope you had a good picture up of Virtual Racing School on my car there. Really happy to have them on board. I'm doing data packs and setups and tutorial videos for them, and they're a great service. And honestly, I really like using it for checking out other data packs, like especially Mitchell DeYoung's Rallycross stuff. That's really cool. And thanks to my teammates. Thank you, Ryan, for bringing this setup to victory lane. I wasn't able to, but he was definitely flying, so good for him.
So, points leader, number 24 of Keegan Lee, I believe, after he gets out of Fontana here, Evan. And, well, that number 24 car is easily the most consistent car on the field right now.
And I mean, anytime you can qualify on a pole, and Ray Alfala, somebody who has obviously found a lot of success in this series, talking about how difficult it is to gauge what anybody's got on any given night to be able to put it up on top. Obviously, good news for that team as they continue to try to build again. Still 10 races to go before we have to officially use the word playoffs in action. You're taking a look at tonight's top 10 with Ryan Luza getting the win. So 3 different races and 3 different winners now to this point. Nick Ottinger started it off in Daytona. Keegan Leahy 2 weeks ago from ISM Raceway. And tonight, Ryan Luza in Fontana. Means as we look at our updated championship standings, Leahy still sits at the top of the pile. Luza creeping his way on up into 3rd spot. Alfala, Zelensky, Conti, and Clampett. Some of the names just to highlight those top 10. Still nice and tight. Obviously, the goal is to qualify for those playoffs, Randy. You don't really get any much more of a bonus for leading it all the way to that point, so you just want to be on the screen right there, and then the real fun starts 14 races into the year.
Yeah, that's the big thing. You need to sort of set a rhythm right here, right now. And the fact that 20 Keegan Lee has been able to do that might make him an early championship favorite. But with that said, with the likes of Ryan Michael Luza showing the pace that he has one-handed, it's sort of the thing you would say if you were talking to Smack, weren't you? I could beat all of you with one.
But everybody, I think, an equal opportunity to get something going at the start of the year, and looking forward to the first intermediate racetrack of the year coming up next.
Yeah, you've got some very exciting racetracks coming up, as you see on your screen. Obviously, Richmond. You look at Kansas, almost like an Auto Club Speedway, have some characteristics in between them. Michigan the same way, but then you get a track like Sonoma mixed into there as well before we hit the playoffs. And then that playoff stretch is quite interesting as well. Some different racetracks in there to crown our champion at the end, like Indianapolis and Dover, and then head to the Homestead Miami Speedway. But when you look at those point standings, yeah, it might be too early to necessarily talk about points, but you look at those top three that are right there, they're going to start to really stretch themselves out if they can continue to run the way they are. You look at Bobby Zielinski all the way back to about 19th or 20th place, which is off your screen. It's about 30 points in between, and you're looking to get that top 8. It's too early to necessarily talk points for them, but it might be just an idea to keep your eye on those three and how far they can stretch out in front prior to the playoff cutoff. But obviously, Keegan Leahy has been strong. But as we mentioned, 3 races, 3 different winners. We'll see if we can roll the dice and get 4 next week.
And you've got race winners first and third in the points. Ottinger's going to have to figure something out as we continue to work later into the season. But with all of that being said, our third race of 18 has fallen into our rearview mirror. As we get set to say goodnight, I have to thank all of the people behind the scenes who make these broadcasts that are Tuesday night possible. Savannah Ballo on the cameras, for Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey, their team for working on the broadcast CG. Graphics by Andy Werder. Of course, Will Vincent, Hugo Louise, Drew Adamson, Cisco Scar, everybody else at RaceSpot TV and iRacing.com for making it happen. And for your broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, and Randy Jenneth, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate 2017 Series champion Ryan Luza on winning here tonight in California. The series takes its off week and will return on Tuesday, April the 10th to close out the West Coast swing from America's Racing Showplace, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series can be found right here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Until next time, good night from Fontana.